Township of Frontenac Island's regular meeting will now begin at 10:42 on January 12th, 2026. We begin this gathering by acknowledging and celebrating this traditional land as the gathering place of the first peoples and their ancestors who are entrusted to protect the Mother Earth since time immemorial. We do so respecting both the land and the Indigenous peoples who continue to walk with us throughout this world. Today, the Township of Frontenac Islands is committed to working with Indigenous peoples in all governments to pursue a united path of reconciliation. Is there any declaration or pecuniary interest in general nature thereof of the council? Seeing none, we'll start with delegations. We have Mike Connolly and Kimberly Thomas of the Wolf Island Cenotaph and Remembrance Day. Where should we start? Welcome.
Thank you. You can say this.
Can I wear your hat? Good.
This is what I have. I'm going to just read it. Final finishing of the granite base and sealing of the stone by Mike Calcorp will be done when the warm weather returns. With the help of Randy Smeltzer, I have temporarily placed a custom cut granite step, which was an addition to the original plan. Final installation will require me to cut part of the pavement under the left side of that step for leveling. And Marcel had requested to install yellow aluminum demarcation edge strips, which I ordered from BC manufacturer, trying to keep everything as Canadian as possible. Unfortunately, because of the ferry issue, they arrived when the boat wasn't running. The shipper returned them back to BC. So I don't know how best to get them back here, but apparently we have to pay for the shipping again. Both bronze plaques have now been completed and they've arrived. And unfortunately, the final plaque, we paid a premium to have FedEx deliver because they come to the island. And unfortunately, with no boat, FedEx contacted MTO. I don't know if they got a response, but they said that because they couldn't confirm whether a boat would be running that would bring their vehicle over and back, that they instead would park their delivery vehicle on the dock by the Holiday Inn and everybody on the island could go over. I went over. I didn't know this was 150 pounds and in a wooden crate. Thankfully, they brought it on and put it up on the dock, but getting the car was not fun. I don't want to repeat something like that. Both the large granite stones have arrived. One is 18,000 pounds, the other is about 11,000 pounds respectively. They're on the island at my shop, and I will start carving them when the weather warms up. We'll need to make sure that the town hall parking lot is cleared of vehicles on the day the stones are flatbedded over. And it's got to allow for adequate space for a crane that we're going to hire with insurance to put these stones in place. The painting of the carved letterings and the installation of bronze plaques on the stones, as well as any gold leaf work that's, if our budget still permits, will be done on site. And we have ordered a pair of custom-made stainless steel wreath holders that are being made in Kingston. Together, they'll hold the 16 wreaths that we use every year. So we won't need those individual things that fall over or are on an uneven surface. I've designed it so that they will go on and off, like click on and off the front of the monument, so that we securely fastened in place. They'll be removable and stored somewhere else. The rest is a few questions. Kimberly is in the process of completing how to run the Remembrance Day ceremony we've done it the past few years. I believe it's going to be handed off to Historical Society, so everything that needs to be known to run it successfully will be in that. I'm glad that Keith is here because he might know the answers to this first one. We purchased 5% more granite paving stones than were needed for the project, so the township would have matching stones should any repairs be required in the future. They're worth about $1,500. Mike Calthorpe said that he was going to see if the township staff could help him just put them in the basement of the town hall so that they, be out of sight, but they'd be there if the snowplow ever hit it. I have no idea where they are, but we certainly hope that they haven't gone missing. So if someone can tell us where they are, I thought the basement of the town hall, it's not regularly accessed. If we know they're down there, then they could be retrieved. We appreciate the township has previously stated verbally and in writing that they support Remembrance Day efforts to construct a war memorial at the steps of the town hall. However, we've also been told and acknowledged that Remembrance Day is a statutory holiday and township staff does not work on that day. However, this is not entirely accurate. Township staff do work all days when snow and ice removal is required. We are not asking or expecting township staff to do anything more on Remembrance Day than snow and ice removal to provide the public with safe access to the town hall and its vicinity. We don't think this is an unreasonable expectation, and it shouldn't be something that any future group of Remembrance Day volunteers should have to request in advance or provide resources to execute. Of the past 20 Remembrance Days, I've been here for 20 years, there have only been 4 that have had snow and ice. This past one is the only one that had an issue. I'm wondering if council can pass a resolution that directs staff to assure that the town hall will be safely free of snow and ice by 9 a.m. the morning of November 11th in perpetuity. It's not an event that comes as a surprise to anyone. It always happens on the 11th. We're also asking if council can direct staff to make sure that salt bins at the town hall have adequate levels of salt in them with shovels or some type of applicator available for the volunteers and attendees to use if needed on November 11th. This past Remembrance Day, it was pretty bad. The flag was actually frozen to the aluminum pole, and if it hadn't been for the volunteer firefighters taking it down, we wouldn't have been able to move the flag up and down. Also asking if council can direct staff to make sure that the lot of the town hall is free of vehicles by the end of the last business day at the town hall before Remembrance Day by barricading the entrances and providing signage for the reason. We usually have the military vehicles and the fire department vehicles in the square. There were cars parked there. Thankfully, the military vehicles didn't come over. Otherwise, it would have been really tight. We'd like to know where the stainless steel holders could be stored. They shouldn't be locked away in an inaccessible or unknown location. And we're wondering if the township, with council to direct staff to install the reef holders. It's really simple. By the end of the last business day at town hall, prior to Remembrance Day. Maybe when they're barricading the parking lot, it could be done. And finally, the flagpole came in 2 keys for the walking alley. One key must be available on Remembrance Day. Otherwise, there's no way to move the flag up and down. So if some procedure could be done for that, and maybe it's as simple as unlocking it and taking the whole door into the town hall so that it is open for anyone to move it up and down on that day. I don't think that we need to lock it afterwards. It's just the flag's really important. That's it.
Thank you very much. Any questions, Councillor Holcomb?
We can't predict the weather and we can't predict what time it's going to be done. I mean, if it's snowing, if we're in a blizzard, we've seen conditions, so we can't commit to that. I think we can commit to when the Historical Society get a hold of them November 1st and discuss what plans what action we need to take for that year.
You guys go help them, it's, council and that, not the operations piece. And I guess maybe one of the questions that, Mr. Bromley had raised that,
me?
yeah,
I'm just answering the question.
okay, but
Yeah.
what I'm wondering is with operations, because council may not be here next November. So this is basically operational, is what he's been asking for, to have a process in place. Does it really need to have a resolution by council to have a process in place at operations to support Remembrance Day?
That's exactly what I spoke to. I said the township. I didn't say the council. I said the council, I wouldn't want to commit to saying we have that. I think the township could be in touch with the historical society, say the 1st of November, so that everybody is aware of the role on the Remembrance Day or the days leading up to.
It's really simple and it's the same thing every single year.
Yeah, so it's really simple and every single year to commit to that November 1st, we'll be in touch with the group that's doing it to make sure if conditions change. Obviously, this year there was a new change because the flagpole had never been locked before. It's a new flagpole.
Yeah, but
So that's something that maybe got overlooked and should have been discussed before.
No,
There is a new podium that we didn't know was being used as a podium. Probably really shouldn't have had salt on it until it was sealed and everything, but we don't, these are the things can change. So I think a commitment that November 1st, township will be in touch with the group would be a great idea, just to make sure that we keep everything current.
What the podium
Okay.
is like the parking area where everyone's standing. So
Yeah, pardon me.
Those is all.
Councilor, or Mr. Bromley, I'm going to ask the CEO clerk, who's responsible for overall operations, not for bid. The points that Mr. Bromley has raised, that regarding everything from keeping it free of ice and shoveled, as well as the flag and anything else. Would you like to speak to that?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. With respect to the operations, I will defer to Keith and, our Public Works Foreman. And I do believe, and I understand, Chief Hawkins, you can correct me if I'm wrong, the fire department has the keys for the flagpole, so certainly.
So the key, the keys is very,
Oh.
key, I think.
Okay,
We have
sorry.
key, it's no problem with it.
Yeah, no problem.
So if you want to leave that up to the fire chief, that is gonna be here every time, he can come in and get the key the day before police.
Thank you.
Or we can take a key.
Or they can.
One there in the door.
Seems pretty good.
Now we're going to hear from the Public Works.
Through you, Madam Mayor, we didn't have it barricaded off. It was, forgot about it because Randy and I had a week call at the retirement home on 10. I did come down and throw salt down around Friday, as to check the roads. And up to the retirement home, check, see if we still had heat. My concern was when you see the podium, that mortar was just put down on the October 30th, because Mike Calthorpe come to my door at 10 to 7 looking for a key to the town hall, which I didn't have. I told him Lisa's only one with a key, and he went to Lisa's and got a key. Or Lisa came up and knocked door for him to run the extension cord out. But my concern was that salt shouldn't be put on the podium. I had left it because it had only been down there, but 11 days. I had no idea you're gonna be using that as a podium.
Yeah, it wasn't really the podium that was the big issue, it was its parking.
I'm not acknowledging you right now. I'm listening to that question.
Then to find out later on that the salt boxes were empty because Sandy Canyon had spread more out later on. It takes time for salt to work, especially when the sun can't get at different areas.
So my concern is less on the historic aspect of what we've been through and making sure that it's a smoother scenario in the future. And I think that
Yes.
that's what Mr. Bromley was bringing forth. So does that require a resolution of council, or is this operational?
Through you, Madam Mayor. No, it would be an operational item. Again, as township staff have indicated, we're more than willing to work with the groups. As Councillor Halton indicated, if we could get together with November 1st with the community group that is looking after the Remembrance Day ceremony, so we can ensure that everything is in place and ready to go for the 11th.
Thank you.
Should there be salt put on the podium with more water?
It's in the past now.
That
It's in the
is
past.
something that we should be taking care of.
You mean,
In the
do
future.
you think that salt may be damaging to the podium in the future?
If anybody would take a look today, going in, you can see the salt marks.
Read it. Even now,
They-
read it.
Compared to falling, I think that salt would be needed upon occasion. Okay, just
It's
the brown.
turning time.
The white marks on the front are actually the lime from the mortar. It's a high lime mortar. So that's not salt. There was some salt on it. After it was salted, it would have been nice to have been sealed, but safety comes first. As I said in the beginning, like California was gonna seal the thing when it warms up. Then salt can be put on it. My concern is not about what happened, it's that things could just be automatic, and yes, salt, we'd like, if there is snow, ice, we'd like people to be able to walk into the square safely, go in the hall safely, just the normal things that we would expect. There's not really any need to meet at the 1st of November with any group to discuss what happens every single year. And hopefully there won't be snow. Do you know where the granite pavers are?
No,
Well, there's $1,500 worth of stone that was,
I would suggest whoever was in charge of the project should know.
Councillor Hartman, I got a question.
Yeah,
Is that important?
Mike California.
Madam Mayor, point of order. Madam, point of order. I believe presentations are limited to 10 minutes, and I think
Yes.
we've exceeded that.
Yes, the presentation is over. I agree. He was asking the question back, and I was getting to that as well. So the pavers and that, they were delivered, I assume, at this site?
I presume so, yes.
Presume
I
so.
will look into it.
Okay,
There's Mike's been working different hours than we have. He has a full-time job and he's been doing it on Saturdays, Sundays afterwards. So I will.
okay, so we'll find out where the missing pavers are and get them put to a suitable location so that they aren't a mystery.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Houghton.
just to know, this is not a project that any of our staff are in charge of. So as far as it wasn't Keith's responsibility for the pavers. I mean, this was not a township project that we had control over. I just want to clear up.
Okay. Councillor Jablonski,
No more comments.
Councillor Saunders,
Hey, Madam Mayor, I'm not in favor of creating bylaws or whatever that set all this stuff in stone. No pun intended. I think what you're seeing is the traditional, we've had an event, there's been some issues, we do a debrief, it's all been documented. And I think it's a matter of this committee or the Historical Society to bring that debrief forward, whether it's November the 1st or whatever, prior to the event. So we go through all these things and make sure with staff, everything's taken care of or looked at. I don't think a policy or a direction from council is required.
Councillor Ackley,
Yeah, again, I just feel that this, I don't think this was our project. He just helped with it. And I'm not sure we should be storing stuff that if it did get broken, we're liable or we have to fend out $1,500 or whatever. As for our township employees, Saltland sanding the access for that day, I'm all in favor of them looking after safety.
okay.
any other comment?
You're actually past the presentation piece, so I'll let you do one comment, but then I have mine.
I think council's forgetting that, this is gonna be turned over to the township when it's completed, and part of this whole process in the application was that council would provide, service in kind So part of that was the cooperation, and he did have staff help with certain aspects of this. So we're not asking the township to do anything that's unusual or shouldn't have known. Thank you.
Thank you. My question is to the CEO clerk, Matt, and as it's been pointed out that, you know, we've had a couple of volunteers that have organized this for the past few years. And the intent is that the Historical Society takes it over. Certainly, it's a statutory holiday. It's a significant day. And that for everyone to be involved with. And I'm wondering, would it be appropriate for the township to do a memo of understanding with the Historical Society as to what the expectations are, so it's nice and clear back and forth, and should at some point they decide they don't want to be involved with it, who else takes it over in that, but at this point in time, just because it's going to be a handoff, maybe a memo of understanding between the township and whatever group's running it, that it's crystal clear.
So through you, Madam Mayor, certainly township staff can work with whichever community group that takes on, whether it be the Historical Society or just a group of volunteers like what is on Howe Island called the Howe Island Cenotaph Committee. So until such time as the township knows which group it is that's taking it over, I would just suggest that for this year at least, until we know which group is taking it over, that we simply get together township staff with the group itself and thank you. Sorry, Madam Mayor.
Are we expecting that group to contact us to tell us if they're going to run November 11th ceremony?
Sorry, yes, whichever group it is, whether it's the Historical Society or if it's a different volunteer group. Yeah, if they reach out to us and let us know, then staff can work with them to ensure everything's in place and ready to go for the.
So theoretically, if no group reached out and that, we wouldn't have a Remembrance Day ceremony.
Theoretically, no, because it's not a township responsibility that takes on. Typically, it's either a Historical Society, we don't have a Legion here on the island, or it's veterans that typically do the ceremony, so.
Okay. All right.
Moved by Councillor Jablonski, seconded by Councillor Ackley, that council thank Mike Bromley and Kimberly Thomas regarding their delegation for the Wolf Island Cenotaph and Remembrance Day.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. Now we're at the consent agenda. We're at the adoption and receipt of minutes for December the 2nd for the budget meetings and December the 8th, the public meeting and council meeting minutes. Put that on to you.
Moved by Councillor Ackley, seconded by Councillor Holt, and that the December 2nd, 2025 special budget meeting minutes be adopted as presented and or amended, and that the December 8th, 2025 public meeting and council meeting minutes be adopted as presented and or amended.
Discussion, Councilor Holton.
No.
Councilor Jablonski.
Okay.
Councilor Saunders. Councilor Ackley. Okay, there's a correction on the December 8th meeting minutes on the public question period. I believe William Coffin is his name, not Kaufman, Coffin, that spoke to us. And we had a request in, and I assume that the CAO has met the request for the information he had asked for at that time.
It's with regards to, sorry, it was
He's
the
looking for the phrases.
public.
Yeah,
Council.
public question period. William Kaufman, you have down at 8 Earl Way, and it should be Kaufman, I believe, Coffin.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, and he had asked that, and you said that you would provide him with contact information for the organization that basically made the recommendation on the purchase of the corn stock.
Yes, no, we have not. I have not reached out to him as yet. I will follow up this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any other? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried. I will mention that there's an area that is missing that has been part of the consent agenda up to this point in time, and that was information from AMO that often involved grant applications and things of that nature. I think that that would be a good thing to have at some point in our meeting. It could easily be later on in the agenda package so that the public has the opportunity to review some of the grant opportunities that are often afforded townships. And AMO is very good at sending that stuff out. Okay, so now we're going to staff report, and we have the finance report, SN 001-26 on the budget. So I assume it's going to be the president responsible for this.
Thank you through Madam Mayor. Just give me 1 second as I get the presentation up on the screen.
I thought I gave you lots of time when I was talking.
I just didn't want to put it out too early. So we have the presentation up there, just to kind of give a brief primer, because I knew we have a lot of people here in person and online that we've had for the last few meetings. This is the 4th time the budget has now been presented in front of council. At this point, we have kind of gone through all the departments in detail and had our discussions. Where we left off in December is at the last meeting, the asset management plan was presented at the same, we were just presenting the budget slides. So coming from that, we've made changes to the budget to try to be more compliant with the asset management plan targets. I will speak into more detail. So there was kind of 2 main changes. First, on Howe Island Ferry, council directed staff to remove the ranch study from the budget and redirect those funds towards capital assets or capital savings into reserves. And then the other piece is I presented funding targets for the asset management plan, and council gave specific directions on how much we should meet those. And I will talk to those a little bit more in detail. Just right off the bat, we have the tax solution increase. At this point too, I'm able to include the overall increase, including the county portions. So just to start off, Wolf Island is currently at 4.44%. At the last budget meeting, it was at 3.76%. So we did go up about 0.68% related to the asset management plan. Overall, for the average household, we're looking at $140 increase. For Howe Island, the last presented tax rate was 4.20%. That's gone to 4.29, so a 0.09% increase for the Howe Island residents. The average household taxation increase is $131.47. This is in general because Howe Island has higher average assessment. So even though the tax rate increase is lower, it has a higher impact on the average household. From the county perspective, they passed, I believe it was a 4.86% levy increase. Accounting for growth, it was 3.75%. On the education side, there's been no changes to the education tax rates. Those have remained the same. So again, the education piece is going to skew the overall increase to be a bit less because we're applying a 0% increase there. But overall, the tax rate increase for Wolf Island is 3.65%, and it's 3.46% for Howe Island, and that's everything included that you see on the tax bill. So as I discussed, the next thing I'm going to jump to is just to the reserves. Again, this presentation is online. We've had past discussions, but this will need for some time and the fact that we have gone over things. With that being said, if there are any questions about anything in the presentation, I'd be happy to speak to. So just skipping ahead here, we have the reserve balances. Again, my apologies to everyone in person. I can barely make it up from there, so I'm sure none of you could get there. The main thing I just want to highlight on this slide is we increased money going towards the asset management. So in that second last column, it has 2026 budget entries. There's now $16,000 going towards Wolf Island asset management, and there's $4,163 going towards Howe. Again, those 2 entries was what bumped up our tax rates from 3.76% from Wolf to 4.44 and 4.2 Howe to 4.29. So again, all other things being the same, nothing's changed since last meeting. The one thing I did want to note is the obligatory reserve. So as of last meetings, we had not yet had confirmation from the county if they would be giving us a portion of their CCDF funding. That was approved by county council in December. So before the main change here is for that last row, CCDF, or formerly called gas tax. Our estimated reserve balance at the end of 2026 was zero because we've utilized all the funds. Now it's sitting at $89,598. The one thing to note is you might have questions, how does this impact the asset management plan? The asset management plan targets are targets to have annual funding that we have to meet every year. The reason why the county court is not included is because it's wholly at their discretion. They could decide next year, if we have our own projects we want to use the money for, we're not giving it to the townships. So when we're developing our asset management plan, because it's discretionary and it's not guaranteed, we develop our plans as if, it's not something that we can rely upon the next 15 years as we try to meet our asset management targets. So I just did want to bring attention to that. Again, I am just going to do some skipping over some of the slides again to get to the discussions. Oh, actually, sorry, we'll go here. That slide's small, so that's just an overall summary. I go to the next one. Basically, again, this does the summary by departments. Again, showing up this on the TV screen. Overall, not much has changed since the last presentation. The splits stayed mostly the same. We have here the raise by taxation. It's again gone up by, I think, just shy, maybe about $20,000 more raising, really, less standard plan from the last meeting. Just as a general sense for everyone here, the budget with the asset management plan is a lot more focused on spending or saving for capital projects, almost across the board, just with various things that changed in the year. Operational spending, what we have accounted for inflation, we have seen decreases across most departments. So again, here we're looking at overall chronic islands, an increase of 5.72 on the levy. Again, when we count for growth, that number comes down to a little bit less. So we'll move ahead to the asset management plan. So just a quick refresher, we presented our final version of the asset management plan in December and it was passed and approved by council. Again, for anyone not familiar with it, basically the asset management plan looks at your inventory of assets and it tells you you need to plan to save or raise money in the future to cover the cost to replace your assets. So if we were to buy a new vehicle today, we need to start putting money away so that by the time it has useful life, we have enough money for a replacement. One of the great benefits of it is that it will hopefully limit in the future having to have huge increase in taxes to cover purchases that you might have. I know that again, in the past few years, we've had some higher tax rates, so hopefully for the plan, we have funding targets and we stick to them. So we do have 2 different tax rates and 2 different inventories of assets. So the Wolf Island funding gap, we were $1.4 million short of where we should be. And for Howe Island, we were just around $500,000 short where we should be. With the consultants, we have a 15-year plan so that we will close that gap by 2040. Which then at that point, we will be raising enough money by taxation and other sources to cover the replacement of all our assets in our infrastructure. So barring that in mind, basically, in that plan for the 2026 taxation year, it said that we needed to increase taxes by 5.93% or $152.37 on capital spending for the average property. So for Wolf Island, last week we noted that there was a deficit between our budget and the asset management plan. The direction I was getting from council is to split the difference. So instead of increasing the tax rate, I believe by 1.7, we increased it by half that. So in the budget, all said and done, the 2026 budget increases taxation by $134.54 for capital spending. All in all, related to asset management plan for 2026, as it's presented, the council has met 88.3% of its 2026 AMP funding target. So again, it's one of those things for context. We have this plan and we're going to try to stick to it. There is no requirement that council does. Council can still pass its own budget. So in this case, we don't quite meet the targets, but we are pretty much almost there. And like I said, we do still have a 4.44% increase for Wolf Island. I think, we've done an excellent job of getting that as close as we can while still being aware of, the tax rate and the impact on residents. For Howe Island, looking at the 15-year plan, it's a similar story. So for the 2026 year, the plan recommended a 4.92% increase relating to capital spending, or $150.77. Howe Island was a lot closer when presented, so it was able to fully meet that target. And then so for 2026, it's meeting 100% of the funding target for the asset management plan. Again, for council, these increases are what are expected every year. So it's a cumulative expected increase. For example, Howe Island, it's 4.92% every year for the next 15 years. So we met it 1 year. When we come back to budget next year, we might have a new council at that point. There'll be a different shakeup. That council will then have to decide whether or not it's going to meet its targets for 2027. And that's just going to be part of the annual budget conversation going forward. At this point, that kind of covers all the new information I wanted to talk about. Again, I'll leave it to council if you have any questions about any of the slides, just in the being aware of time. I just didn't want to reach that ground that we went over quite a lot of detail already.
Thank you very much. Councillor Holcomb.
No, I think it does a good job. I'm quite happy with the budget of balancing. Just to be clear then, on the Wolf Island tax bill overall, I'll see a 3.65% increase.
Yeah, so if you were to
Everything's
through you, Madam Mayor, if you were added to all the tax rates for like the township, the county, and the education, and you compared it to last year's tax rates, that would be a 3.65% increase.
And one more question. What does 1% tax increase net us?
Yeah, so it's different for each island. Through Madam Mayor, for Wolf Island, it's about 24,000, and for Howe Island, it's about half that, around $12,000. That equals a 1% tax rate increase.
Okay, I just wanted everybody to be aware of that. 1% really doesn't net us too much at the end of the day. I know everybody doesn't like it on their tax bill, but it does not net us too many dollars in the end. Thank you.
Hey, Councillor Jablonski.
Thanks, Mayor. No, I gotta say, Jesse, great job in getting this up. I'm happy we're starting to attack the asset management portion. We've been way behind. I think people have to realize that asset management, basically we have to double our tax in 15 years to meet just what we have now. So people must be aware that doubling in tax in the next 15 years doesn't net us more assets. It just maintains what we have. And that's why I was still slow. We have to maintain what we have. I think great job with it. Thank you.
And Councillor Saunders.
Hey, Mayor, I want to reiterate that comment. Congratulations to you and the entire staff for putting it together. What I think is a brilliant budget. So again, Councillor Holland, because it's numbers. So if I'm on Howe Island, I can expect my taxes to go up by 3.46%.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, and for the average person, it's going to be $180.
So that's based on the average assessment value per household. So it's all going to depend, but yeah, the average person, that's what we're looking at.
And thank you for your patience on this. We've through this so many times. I want to make sure I'm clear on a couple of things. Your perspective on the reserve for Howe Island, is that reserve number going up, improving? Are we getting close to where we should be?
Yeah, so through your Madam Mayor, I have the reserves up on the board, and again, it's not an easy tendency, so I suggest look at your agenda if you have it. I will say that the reserves are generally trending for both islands in the right direction. I think we all know that the Howe Island reserves in the past couple of years have been very low. We have done kind of increases in the fire department. What I will say with the asset management plan is that we're going to see a lot more money over the 15 years to be put in reserves and we'll have available. So that plan is helping us meet those goals. The other piece of it, we don't have the numbers for 2025, but in 2024, on the operational side, there were some year-end surpluses on the operations. We expect that as well in 2025 when it's all said and done. So staff has been making a lot of effort to make sure that we're coming in under budget wherever we can. For example, if we're under and we're near the end of the year, we're not looking to spend, we're looking to make sure that we can get by for the rest of the year and make sure we meet the needs and deliver the services, but saving as much as we can, realizing that I think if you were to look at all municipalities in Ontario, speaking more directly on Howe here, our reserve levels are probably well below the average. But just one of those things, barring, significant raising taxes, in that develops over time, and I think it's on staff to present council those numbers, and then council to continue giving staff direction to meet those goals for the organization.
So taking up with your point, so if there are, if there are underspending in certain accounts, those dollars will be moved into reserves?
Yeah, through you, Madam Mayor, that is correct. Staff goes through an activity here and we look at the departments, what was budgeted and what we spent. And it's just a general process like that gets added to the reserves.
Specific question, do we have money in both, all the budgets for staff training?
Yes, through you, Madam Mayor. So again, with the budget, we took last year's and we applied 2%. So in the slides, I don't really think you see training popped up. But I will say for admin, fire, ferry, roads, there's money in the budget for training for all those different department groups. Based on what we've seen for 2024 and 2025, that's sufficient. We didn't feel like there was a need to request more training other than using inflation so that we keep up to date with inflationary numbers.
And despite all the fears that we were going through as this whole asset management plan was coming forward, it sounds like for a reasonable number, we're actually in pretty good shape. It wasn't as dramatic as the increases were not as dramatic as I thought they would be. So, or, you know,
Yes.
It's
So
like a reason.
yeah, I think through you, Madam Mayor, I think we were kind of lucky with some things, like we had, for example, recycling has changed and that's led to some savings for the township. We pretty much put that directly back in the capital to help us reach the goal, so there was, a bit of fortunate timing. But like I said, I think it is a large increase and, Councilor Jawanki was correct, over 15 years. If you look at the cumulative tax rate, it is going to be large. I think with this, we have a long-term plan, and then the other side of it is we take it 1 year at a time, and as council, and staff, what we present, we're gonna do our, absolute best to meet those targets. So at the end of the day, it's based on a lot of math. So it kind of just has to be done, or we're gonna end up in situations where we decrease our asset inventory and services decrease for the township. Which the general sentiment, again, for anyone listening along, is with the asset management plan, we were trying to maintain the levels of services the township currently offers. And that was the goal with it.
And last question, under council, you have, I think it's for legal costs or contract 5,000. I think it's public knowledge that we're in the middle of a court case right now. Is that amount of money sufficient to cover what we might expect in terms of costs?
Yeah, so through Madam Mayor, that amount, I will say is just an estimate. I think with the budget, staff was, being conservative with the approach. There was significant amount of costs that were already incurred in 2025 that weren't budgeted for, and when I was presented the Q4 report, that information will all be available to council. What I will say is we do have legal budget in other departments, so if need be, we can pull from other departments. We thought 7,000 just directly related to council, just based on the past costs we had, was a good starting base for the 2026 for funds that we might need. But it's by no means all that we have in the budget for legal. There's budget in the roads departments, there's budget in admin and whatnot for regular legal costs that we incur.
Well, again, thank you. Brilliant budget. When a lot of townships and municipalities are quoting 6, 7, 8% tax increases for the rates we're looking at, I think we're in great shape. So thank you.
Okay, Councillor Ackley?
Again, great job. The only thing I'd like to see is the 30% increase in benefits come down a little bit. Like that's quite a huge increase in that section. And as for the legal costs, can you give us a rough idea where we stand this year on spent legal costs?
Yeah, through Madam Mayor, I don't have the numbers in front of me, so I don't want to misspeak. The CEO can correct me, but if we're looking at tens of thousands of dollars related to legal fees, again, that will be presented by Q4. It will stand out a little bit. So today I don't have a number in front of me. But it's legal fees are definitely not cheap, and we have had more hours than historically past, just with the ongoing litigation. The other piece, just to touch on the benefits, just because I know I mentioned this at this point, would have been back in November. We don't expect that increase to happen next year. Basically, our premiums go up based on usage. So I think the year before they actually went down. So the 30% compared to 2 years ago is a little bit excessive. So it is something that should hopefully next year we'll see a decrease in those.
Excellent, thanks.
Okay. Just a quick footnote in that when we talk about legal fees, it also includes when we're purchasing land, we get consults, integrity commissioners, that is coming out as legal fees as well. Ombudsman is free, basically. So that works out better. On the budget though, and I just wondered, I couldn't really see the Horns dock, 325,000 that's going to be taken out of the wind reserve. And that is my understanding. And that should show up in this year's budget coming up, correct?
So through you, Madam Mayor, where that's been adjusted, I have it on the slides just for reference. The current balance for the wind reserve, not the investment fund, but the wind reserve was adjusted for the Horns Ferry transaction. So these numbers are our budget with that already captured.
Okay, so prior to that, the budget was reflecting a significant amount of wind reserve funds to go towards roads. Road work coming up this year, correct?
So if you look at the budgets, like we do have the $645,000 that we get in annual. So in our budget, that's what we used in the budgets I presented. We never pulled from any reserve, from the wind reserve. We kept it all with the new revenue. So our current balance, and my apologies, I don't have the old slides up in front of me, was for the wind reserve. Right now it's 258. Effectively, it was about $325,000 larger when we started this budget process. So that $258,000 is adjusted for the Horns Ferry transaction. I thank you for bringing it up because I think I did talk in the last presentation, but I know it's top of mind, and that's a good reflection that we did spend reserve money to complete that purchase. Just to make sure that the public's aware of that.
Okay, and we did involve legal as well with that. Okay, also that on the note of the asset management plan that we have and the expenses. Part of what we've ran into in the past is, and you've mentioned, because we have not got a strategic plan, we have not been able to apply for some of the grants that have been out and available to us. So for the public to be aware that at some point we may be able to get grant money to also put towards asset management, because frequently the provincial and even the federal government has come up with grant money to assist smaller municipalities. And sometimes it flows through Roma, sometimes it's direct, et cetera, and that. So with all good luck and fortune, we may be able to get some of that offset, and that would be wonderful. But on that note, I want to make sure that there's a firewall around the reserve for the asset management, that it is reserved for asset management expenses, and it's not treated like the cookie jar, that this is oh, look at how large that fund is, knowing that we're actually robbing from Peter to pay Paul in the future.
And so through you, Madam Mayor, what I will say is part of the asset management plan, the 15-year, there is a 10-year capital forecast with the bulk of it being in roads work, but staff do have an outline of how the funds are to be spent and the expected reserve balances if we meet our funding targets. Lastly, too, again, with all the reserves, barring year-end surplus deficit entries, everything comes to council for utilization. So staff would never utilize a reserve without first going to council to either get approval through the budget process or through a staff report and a council resolution. But like you said, just as kind of, a general sense of it is that reserve is to be used to fund purchases to replace our current capital infrastructure. It's not necessarily used for new assets. It's to make sure we have money to keep the infrastructure we have. And I think that's all legislated along those lines to make sure those funds are used appropriately.
And in reality, if we make any new asset purchases, it just increased what you need to put aside for future replacement of it.
Yeah, that is a consideration that we have now, which again, one of the benefits of the asset management plans, we're starting to ask those questions. Everything has a cost. So even if, for example, you buy an asset with a grant that covered 100%, well, 20 years down the road, if you want to replace that, it's 100% the township cost. So Again, I think it heightens the discussions we have on everything and allows us to plan a little bit better for the future.
And I appreciate all the more a CPA to be our treasurer. Thank you very much. I appreciate this.
Thank you.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Saunders, seconded by Councillor Halton, that council adopt the 2026 budget as presented.
Any further discussion? Being none, all those in favor? Carrier. Now we have a CAO update report 2026-01. And I think it's on the CAO that talks with that.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. If you just bear with us while my deputy clerk pulls the presentation up and
No worries.
thank you. So the first item up is just the announcement. As many of you already know, Deputy Mayor Saunders was appointed as Warden of the County of Frontenac. So congratulations to him, and I know he will serve the Township of Frontenac Islands well. As you can see, well, or not, October, November, and December was quite busy with meetings and whether it be a clerk's forum, emergency preparedness, council meetings, what have you. Staff attended a couple of Cunningham Swan seminars. So the last quarter certainly was busy. The CAO clerk's office, with consultation in conjunction with the direction of council, we were able to purchase the Horns Ferry dock for Wolf Island. The staff have started working on the 2026 election data cleansing activities with regards to street addresses and that type of thing. So that's an ongoing project with Election Ontario. Election Ontario also has released a register to vote today. Voting day is October 26th. So certainly log on to ensure that you are on the voters list. Staff submitted or released an RFP for the supply of telephone and internet paper ballot tabulator voting system, which the results are before council in a later report to award the RFP. Staff have gone over the draft procedural bylaws with respect to the comments received back from council. AODA, which is the Accessibility Ontario Disabilities Act, there was compliance reporting that was due, and that was done and submitted in December. We are working on a compliance plan, which is due in the spring of 2026. Staff have been involved with cybersecurity, insurance, and training. New website development agreement and plan has been, the agreement has been signed. Project management meetings will take place later this week. And staff have worked again on the delegated authority policy bylaw. For human resources and legal services, unfortunately, Chief Hawkins announced his retirement at the December 8th council meeting. So we will certainly be sad to see him go in August. Under legal services, staff continue to act on council's direction regarding legal matters related to the transportation service, which was scary. And the successful report being presented to council for the purchase of that. Also, the cybersecurity awareness training. Communications continue with updated pages and content on the website. Staff got together and are reviewing that, for certainly the new content for the new website, which will be launched, with Sandbox Software Solutions was the, awarded, developer, and, it will be up and running. I'm gonna say April, mid-spring, April, May, somewhere around there. Media releases and updates were distributed via the website and news and alerts. The township Facebook page now has 365 followers as of January the 2nd, which is nice to see. The Howe Island 3-car ferry and recycling updates were posted through Constant Contact. They have 520 followers on X for the 3-car ferry. Several speaking notes have been prepared for Mayor Greenwood Spears with regards to media contact over various matters. Communications regarding the new cycling reprogram have been put out. And we've just nicely received the project plan for the new website. Again, it was, we'll have a kickoff meeting later this week. Media releases with regards to public service announcement and other news. There's significant weather, update for the Wolf Island ferry surface, acquisition of the Horns Ferry, ferry passes, etc. OPP consultation, the 2026 to 2029 county detachment action plan, and CRCA low water level conditions. With regards to finance, budget 2026 draft budgets have been prepared, with meetings with council for November 24th, December 2nd, December the 8th. Regular council meeting, the asset management plan was presented to council on December the 8th. Contracts and agreements were awarded to Sandbox Software Solutions, master consulting service agreement for the new website. Staff received a total of 8 applications for the 2026 community grants for Wolf Island and Howe Island. 36,800 was approved to be distributed for the Wolf Island and 7,900 for the Howe Island community groups. Township also made application to the pothole prevention and repair program, which could potentially provide up to $38,000 in funding for pothole repair. Emergency preparedness grant in the amount of $31,465 was awarded. Additionally, staff also applied and were successful in receiving for the 2026 $36,223 for fire protection grant, which will go towards the purchase of bunker gear. Staff also applied for funding for 6 students, 1 for Howe Island roads, 1 for Wolf Island roads, and then, as always, the 4 for the Big Sandy Bay students.
Excuse me, sorry.
Sorry.
Through you, Madam Mayor Vanessa, just for the emergency preparedness, we have applied for that one, but we haven't been awarded.
Oh, my apologies. Yeah.
So just want to make sure that's
Yeah.
clear, but we did get the fire protection grant, which is great. Thanks, Sarah.
Emergency services for Howe Island. The new legislation requires carbon monoxide detectors are now required on all levels of your home and outside of your sleeping areas. The onboarding of all training with the Office of the Fire Marshal is underway to move towards completing the certification requirements. This is mandatory for all firefighters in Ontario. This is a major undertaking and will place a huge expectations on our volunteers to ensure compliance. The emergency plan review and tabletop exercise was completed and the session was productive. Bill 25 of the Emergency Management Modernization Act is now in place, which will govern future exercises and processes to declare emergencies in a municipality. The NG 911 civic address verification has been completed and a countywide policy is actually coming in a report later for adoption. And then 2025 ends with an increase in emergency responses on Howe Island. Combined total call for assistance stands at 42 for 2025. As always, appreciation goes out to our dedicated volunteers and their continued hard work. The emergency services for Wolf Island, the new pumper truck, Mini Pumper 121, was delivered and is in service on Simcoe. Chief Hawkins and Deputy Chief Pike toured Wolf Island and Kingston Ferry battery facilities and are working with MTO on emergency response plans. Through fundraising, Wolf Island Fire Department Association donated funds to the township to purchase a new Zoll X series advanced AED with real-time and CPR bag, valve mask, feedback, and 11 sets of bunker gear. The Wolf Island Fire Department obtained permission to use a private dock and have coordinated with Frontenac Paramedic Services and Joint Rescue Coordination Center for new standard operating guideline emergency response contingency plans when the Wolf Island Ferry is out of service and has exercised this plan. In total, there were 85 emergency responses on Wolf Island for 2025. With respect to the ferry services, the Howe Island three-car ferry staff continue to work hard to ensure township ferry operations remain in place. Overnight coverage has occurred on 4 occasions while the county ferry was closed, thanks to the flexibility of the township staff that have been able to make this occur. Site visit and plans are being developed for the replacement of the ferry end gates and contingent upon budget approval. And preparation is underway to ensure overnight operation during the period that the county ferry dock rehabilitation is underway. And we are hopeful that weather conditions will cooperate during this period. Regular monthly operational touch point meetings with MTO occur on the second week of the month. And with regards to the Simcoe Island Ferry, regular maintenance of Simcoe Ferry occurs as required. With regards to the Wolf Island Public Works, the road fall grading took place, final pass with the roadside mowers and cleaned up the areas where previous snow brush were problems. Coal patching was done due to a dry fall. Crews were able to clear brush and do some work on the bypass road. Phase 1, the roof of the old garage was completed. October, council approved $100,000 for a used snowplow truck. Staff looked at the trucks in the area and a truck was located on Iron Planet with the Township of Lake Bays. The 2016 Western Star was purchased and I believe it's in use and working out quite well if my public works foreman has indicated so. Crews have been busy with the ice and snow conditions, trying to keep areas clear. The Howe Island Public Works, the new recycling, residents have been picking up the new bins provided by MTIR at the Howe Island office. Recycling pickup started January the 7th and seems to be anything feedback staff have heard went very well. Winter snow removal operations are underway with winter setting in much earlier. All equipment has been prepared and made ready for the challenges ahead. The one-ton truck that was purchased has been proven to be an asset plowing at the ferry terminals and parking lots, and this has resulted in significant savings by reducing the need to transport the backhoe between various locations across the island for the clearing of snow. 2026 sand and salt order is in place. With the early onset of winter, there will be more material used. Efforts are consistently made to protect public safety and any impacts on approved budgets. Some deteriorating mortar was noted on the decorative bricks at the entrance of the Howe Island Municipal Office, and for safety reasons, some of the bricks have been removed to ensure safety. Repair will occur as quickly as possible to get that fixed back up. With regards to Howe Island Recreation, the primary gate to the Pat Norris Park has been closed to ensure snowmobilers stay out of the park area during the winter months. This has been a problem in the past, and but access to the park can be used by using the small gate. The washroom building has also been closed and winterized. And last but not least, the building services and bylaw enforcement. Total number of building permits issued were 14 for the last quarter of 2025. Total township development charges were $6,000. Total building permit fees were $34,922.72. And total construction value was $1.4 million. Bylaws that the building department will be working on for 2026 is trailer fence and the zoning bylaw to allow for small homes and bunkies. Bylaw enforcement is just an ongoing enforcement regarding zoning, building violation and bylaw issues. So if there's, council has any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening.
No question, Mary. Thanks again. That's a great report.
Councilor Saunders?
Madam CEO, I suggest you take a breath. And that's my poor sense of humor. I think these reports are extremely valuable. I think a lot of people don't know exactly what's going on all the time. And to take the time to go through all this and understand what staff are doing and what we're accomplishing, I think is important. I particularly want to thank you for the improvement in communication. I'm saying that knowing that the issues around communication we had with MTO and specifically Wolf Island Ferry are poor. But I'm hearing also good feedback around the other aspects of communication regarding the small ferry, and all these other items. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Councilor Ackley?
Again, great report. Yeah, it's pretty straightforward and looks like we're moving ahead again. So let's just keep the momentum.
Okay, yes, I appreciate the improved quality of the reporting as well. And I have a couple of questions. One is, have we got a good feel on the onboarding training's impact for our firefighting services? I know last meeting, it was brought forward that it's going to be onerous on them and involving a fair bit of time on their part. So from a financial perspective, does it impact our budget? But more than that, have we seen an indication that our volunteer services will not suffer and that they're all on board, that they will take that training?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I won't speak on behalf of Chief Quinn or Chief Hawkins. I do know that both chiefs and both deputy chiefs and myself are meeting tomorrow with regards to the regulations and what is required for training for our staff. That being said, I'll turn it over to Chief Quinn. I don't know, Chief.
Through you, Madam Mayor. I think we're going to be in a better position in about a month or so to answer the question in terms of the impact. Once we know, I mean, each individual firefighter is going to have to make some decision as to whether they are prepared to do the required learning. So there'll be some soul searching. I don't know if everybody is signed on for that, so it should be determined.
Okay, and Chief Hawkins, just to update you, I was asking if we have a good feel about the impact of the volunteer fire for the mandatory training that's coming forward, and that if it's going to basically lose us any firefighters, volunteers and that. And the reason I'm asking is that it'd be good if we could get even a general poll, because I will be going to Roma, the Rural Association of Municipalities, and that this coming weekend and that. And if it is going to be an onerous or suspected onerous impact on our volunteers, I'd like to be able to network with some of the other mayors, just make the point, because you made the point previously that we're actually being asked to do this to make a training ground for the larger full-time fire departments to basically poach our fellows and not have to do as much training because we've already paid for
I do believe we are meeting, right? Yes. So, until we meet and get everything in place, I don't know a whole lot, but yeah, we would probably lose these other ones.
it. Yeah, if I could get even your best ballpark information before this weekend, it would be greatly appreciated in that.
Yeah, we're meeting tomorrow, and then we'll
Okay,
have the CEO give you an update on what we're talking about.
okay, and whether there's an expectation of paid time or anything of that would affect our budget, I know that piece too.
Can I just make one, through you, Madam Mayor, one qualifier for the public so people understand? And it's one spoke in a great big wheel of things that have to be considered. Firefighters will be expected to do 40-hour online home study exercise that they will be required to pass a test on. So when you look at the volunteer who has lived in the community and said, hey, I want to help out and call me when things are falling apart. And they attend the regular training sessions and they do the emergency calls and they do all of what they can do. Some may say, I didn't sign on to do home study. I'm not that interested in that. So that will be the test to see kind of how that. That's one piece of the people. Thank you.
I appreciate that. Okay, I also wanted to get a quick update on the Wolf Island snowplow that had its fire. And that is it, do we know if it's a write-off at this point in time or is it going to be repaired? I know insurance is involved.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I will defer to our public works foreman. I know they've been in discussions with the insurance company. I'm not sure if they've picked it up yet or not.
Picking it up within, yeah. Take off for a minute, then you take it to Rush and fix it.
So it's anticipated to be brought back in the service. Wonderful, good to know.
I'm sure that Randy could have got going with the first mention ball being hammered. It's just best to have somebody, a shop look at it to
Yeah.
make sure that nothing else is gonna give us trouble in the near future. So
Would that work for the Wolf Island before then, Chief?
We can try. I mean, a bigger tow truck, I think,
Okay,
I'd just like to thank Vanessa for tipping us off on Iron Planet. That was a nice find. The 2016 Freightliner we got wasn't necessarily the truck that Vanessa tipped us out on. As Randy and I went and took a look at and picked up some donuts. The fellows tipped us off on another one that was coming.
Nice.
So I think we're really good relations with that township and they have a lot bigger budget than we do. We got the mechanic's number and Randy's been in contact with them and a few different things, so it's a good relation we have, even though it's 5 hours away. So
all
thank you,
right,
Vanessa.
Thank you.
thank you. And one question, and it wasn't really on your report, but I raised it before when we were talking about budget at previous time. When are we going to have anything done for the outside of this town hall that's looking shabby, is a kind description of it, as well as the technology as we've seen today with the TV and flicking off and on, and not having enough that the public can actually see the video and that. So when is that going to come along?
With regards to that, it would certainly be, I don't have anything in the budget with regards to this building at all. I will be working closely with our chief building official with regards to what can and what needs to be done to this building. And certainly we need to start putting monies away, whether it be reserves or drawing from reserves, whatever, but something needs to be done with this building. So we can have a meeting in here and have heat on and people be able to hear. Because I don't know about anybody else, but I'm sitting here freezing, so.
Okay, if I just add on to that.
Yeah,
So as part of the asset management plan, Marcel has done a full assessment of all our buildings. So we know what's good, what's not, what needs fixing. And that assessment was built into the next 10 years of capital spending. I believe this building specifically, we have in the asset management plan to spend the funds in 2027. Again, we have to kind of pick a year and it needs to be done sooner than later. It's still going to be council's decision if that actually happens. But we do have a lot of the good background work being done. And it is part of our plans to spend, to spend money to have a working, town hall facility for Wolf Island. So, I think like Vanessa said, we'll definitely have more information in the future. Nothing's in the 2026 budget. That being said, there are reserves. Council could provide direction to move plans ahead. Keeping in mind the fact that we're planning to increase the taxes over the next 15 years. So if we pull from reserves now, hopefully again, it's the next council, we keep, putting money back in to cover it. So,
Perhaps we should keep a close eye on any heritage type of grants, because I know Marcel was corrected at the last meeting that he had this building is built in 1976 and it was 1893. So this would certainly classify as a historic building, that, and there often are grants available for maintaining and upgrading it.
So just correction through you, Madam Mayor, it wasn't Marcel that had indicated it was 19. I believe it was Watson Associates. Oh, was it?
With them. Yeah.
Okay, because
Yeah,
I.
and that's probably when the township took it over from the parish, but that's not when this building was built. This is balloon construction and it's well over 120 years old, 130 almost. Okay. It looks like it.
Moved by Councillor Jablonski, second by Deputy Mayor Saunders, that the CAO report, or CAO update report, 2026-01 from Vanessa Latimer, CAO clerk, regarding the fourth quarter update be received.
Some discussion, all those in favor? All right. Now, the next one, I'm going to suggest that, I'm not going to bring it forward for first and second reading because it's incomplete. But it's administration report number AD 001-26, road renaming and civic address policy. We can listen to the report. However, in that bylaw, it cites that we would be repealing the previous naming bylaw. And I went on our website. We haven't even got it on the website. So it's incomplete. And since we're currently in legal action that over moving first and second reading of anything that was incomplete, I don't think it flies on our part. So I won't be doing that, but we can listen to the report.
Okay, so I'll present the report, but then when we come down to the bylaws, we won't put it on the
We
table.
won't put it on the
Thank
table.
you. I will just make a note.
And I do want to see the existing bylaw that's cited as being repealed, which, if my memory serves me right, it was a bylaw that said that any future streets being named on Wolf Island, and it may have included now as well, will be prioritized to be named after those that were lost in the wars. And we have a list of those who lost in World War I and World War II. We remember them at memorial service, and I'm not prepared to have that lost in any way, shape, or form. I'm sure we can probably get it built in strongly to this upcoming piece, but it's not there at this time.
Thank you. Administration report number AD 001-26 was with respect to a road naming and civic addressing policy. So the attached policy was prepared by the county Frontenac GIS department in conjunction with the 4 municipalities. So they've gone through under the new NG 911 civic addressing. They have worked with all 4 municipalities. I know we were provided a list for both Howe, Wolf, and Simcoe Islands with regards to either any road name anomalies, any civic address numbers missing, whether when GIS attended, they just simply couldn't get down to the lane, or there was no sign posted or whatever. So that is the road naming and civic addressing policy, and what they're trying to do is have a generalization throughout the county without road naming duplicates to kind of make any mistakes or anything like that when emergency services are dispatched. So. So if I may then, Madam Mayor, what I will do is I will just put the first portion on that the admin report be received.
Yes.
Okay. Moved by Councillor Ackley, second by Deputy Mayor Saunders, that council receive administration report number AD-001-26 regarding the proposed road naming and civic addressing policy.
Any discussion? None, all those in favor? Carried. Thank you. 5.4 administration report number AD-002-26 amendment to the building permit fee bylaw 014-2024. Seems like we just passed that.
Time flies, doesn't it? So there, no changes to the building permit fees, being recommended or presented in discussion with, the chief building official. The fees for 2026 are certainly, feasible or are not required to be increased. The only thing that staff are recommending is the removal of the refund clause, which is the second paragraph on the second page after the table of the current bylaw. And it is, if the listed costs above are contested, the owner or builder can submit all invoices of material and labor for evaluation. When the building is self-built, the expected cost of labor will be used. When all related costs are compiled, the permit will be adjusted to the value of the project. If there is a difference of more than 10%, fees will be changed and adjusted, and the township may call for a real estate evaluation to establish the value of the project. So that is the paragraph that staff are recommending removal of the building permit. We're also suggesting that the following be added in on page 2 underneath the schedule. Unless specifically identified as a refundable deposit per the table above, all building permit fees are non-refundable. So it's just to clarify our cost for everyone. And then the only other addition that staff are recommending is the septic permit fees, actually repealing that bylaw and incorporating the septic permit fees with the building permit fees. So it's all under one document and easy to locate. So under the current bylaw, number 12-2024, it indicates that the septic permit fees are valid until the end of this month of 2026. Again, in consultation with the chief building official, there's no increased or recommended increased fees for the septic permit. So all we would be looking to do is incorporate the septic permit fees chart into the building permit fees. So it's all covered in one document.
Okay. Any questions? Dr. Holden?
No, I read it over. I think it says keeping, we can understand where the changes are being made, so.
Councilor Shubansky?
Thanks, Mayor. Yeah, I agree. This is a little more efficient, cuts back on staff time, more contact, makes complete sense. I like it.
Okay, Councilor Sanders?
No comment.
Councilor Whitcomb? Okay, no comment either, I think that it makes sense.
Moved by Councillor Swanky, second by Councillor Ackley, that administration report number AD-002-26 regarding an amendment to bylaw number 014-2024 being the building permit fees bylaw be received, and further that council approved bylaw number 005-2026 being a bylaw to amend bylaw number 014-2024 by removing the second paragraph on Schedule A relating to the refunded building permit fees and the repeal of bylaw number 012-2024.
Okay, all those in favor? Carried. Our administrative report, AD-003-26, award RFP supply of telephone, internet, and paper ballot tabulator voting systems for the 2026 election.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So as indicated in my report earlier, staff prepared and put a RFP out with regards to the supply of telephone and internet with paper ballot and tabulating votings for 2026. Staff had received, I guess it was what, five. Four submissions, my apologies. The first, just strictly for telephone and internet voting, was IntelliVote Systems with a price of $5,724. Paper ballot and tabulator systems, we received 3 there. One from Election Systems and Software in the amount of $12,559. Dominion Voting Systems, $18,421.25, and votes for $17,481.50. All submissions were reviewed by staff in accordance with the evaluation outlined in the RFP, including the cost, experience, system security, compliance with Municipal Elections Act, accessibility, and vendor support. Staff are recommending that the tender be split and awarded for the telephone and internet to IntelliVote Systems in the amount of $5,724, and the paper ballot with tabulators to Election Systems and Software in the amount of $12,559.
Okay, Councillor Holton?
I have one question on it. So if we eliminated paper ballots, that IntelliVote system would have covered everything? That would have been telephone, internet, even if we had like an iPad to vote on?
Oh,
Yeah.
through you, Madam Mayor. Yes, so it would be strictly telephone and internet. It can be done on your telephone, your phone, like your regular phone, or your landline. It can be done over your iPad. Yeah, anything electronic like that, you can, you will get a voter notification card in the mail with your user ID number. And so there's 2-step verification that you would require. You would require that login ID number as well as a second piece of ID. And then you can go online and cast your ballot.
Okay. Councillor Jablonski?
No questions, thank you.
Councillor Saunders?
Hey, Mayor, I think, Councillor Holton's question was if we had not decided to go with paper ballots as the backup, the IntelliVote would have handled all the votes and we would have saved roughly $13,000.
Through you, Madam Mayor. Yes, that's correct.
Thank you.
Councillor Ackley?
I'm in favor of paper ballots. I just believe that the system's already messed up enough to phone in. Anybody can pick up a card, phone in. Oh, yeah, I got your code 21759. Yeah. Oh, grandma, such and such, she died 30 years ago, but she's still voting. So I'm sorry, but I'm all for paper. You know, the world needs paper. And it should stay paper. I think it all should be paper. To $12,000 to count. I think isn't most of it volunteer anyway? Like at our office, when you go up there, isn't there like 8 people in that office, Mike, running our thing, and they're all volunteer? Or sorry, are they not all volunteer at our municipal office when it comes time to voting, paper wise?
Through you, Madam Mayor. No, they're not volunteer. They're paid.
Still, they're all islanders and they're all sitting there and they get whatever. Like, I don't know how much they get paid, but there's only 600 people in Ireland, probably only 4 in the winter, you know, and then most of them are Americans that can't vote anyway. And I'm sure it's the same here. And I think people like to walk in and tick a box and say that this is what I voted for, not pick up the phone or email. I don't know.
And,
That's my sense.
okay, and it's my turn now.
Yep.
And, actually, we've had this discussion. And I also have listened to the Ontario Chief Election Officer at AMO when he said there will never be telephone and internet voting at a provincial level of government because there's too many fraud issues around it. He was pretty clear on it. So the paper ballot, as you pointed out, is pretty transparent. And whether or not we need a tabulator is what comes to my mind, because it is usually, and I wasn't here for the counting, but I had scrutineers both here and on Howe Island. And they counted it by hand, I believe, the last time, because they counted it 3 different times and still kept coming up with the same numbers. And I don't understand why we need to have the electronic tabulation instead of just the paper ballot. Maybe the CEO clerk can elaborate on that.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So it's more through the efficiency of the counting. And certainly it's getting harder to, because not only when people come in, they still have their voter identification. So they hand over their voter identification. It's still done online. It's still done through the computer. It's not a book where you simply strike people off, because we have to verify that they haven't already voted online and cast their ballot that way. So I know from past experience, it's just been difficult with the training of, and for the most part, it's senior citizens that come to do the elections, whether it be provincial, federal, or municipal. So it was just simply time saving and training and that kind of thing. So.
Okay. Because that's exactly in the larger elections and that, and I've seen it, tabulators used where there were issues with them. And that compared to having people actually count and have their scrutineer there. And I've seen that happen firsthand in previous elections in larger sites. So I still wonder about the tabulator aspect. If you were just doing paper ballots, price would probably be $1,000 to print.
I honestly don't know. I can't say. I don't know.
Councillor Saunders.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm not trying to diminish Councillor Athley's concern. A lot of people have that around internet voting. But for perspective, do we have any idea what the percentage of votes in the last election was that went through electronically or paper-wise? Any idea what that split would be?
I don't know what the exact percentage is. There was 1,479 votes cast. 1,000 of those were electronic, 92 telephone, and the remaining 350 roughly, whatever.
So kind of 25-75 split. Roughly.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Paper, you're welcome.
Yeah. That's the version that the chief elected officer is not a fan of. Okay, so. Any further discussions?
I will put the motion on the floor. Thank you. Moved by Deputy Mayor Saunders, second by Councillor Fulton, that council receive administration report number AD-003-26 regarding the request for proposals for the supply of telephone, internet, and paper ballot tabulator voting system for the 2026 municipal election. And further, that council award the contract for telephone and internet voting services to IntelliVote Systems, Inc. in the amount of $5,724, including taxes. And further, that council award the contract for paper ballot tabulators and related services to Election Systems and Software in the amount of $12,559, including taxes. And further, that the clerk be authorized to execute any agreements and take all necessary actions to implement these services for the 2026 municipal election.
Okay, now that it's on the floor. Is there any appetite for an amendment or the elimination of the tabulator aspect for this election? I'm just checking. None? Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor? Carries. Administrative report AD-004-26, Wolf Island Ferry Service Interruption, staff actions and interagency coordination.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So this is an information report for council with regards to the ferry service disruption over the leading up to and over the Christmas holidays. So it's just, report is just to outline the steps taken by the staff. December 22nd, the ferry service to Wolf Island was interrupted for approximately 24 hours due to operational issues with regards to the Wolf Island Ferry 4. The service is owned, as we all know, and operated by the Ministry of Transportation. The service disruption raised concerns related to public safety, emergency response capacity, and access to essential services for the island. So, staff were both on Wolf Island and, myself were in constant contact. We discussed the, emergency management, whether it was, needed to declare a state of emergency. Certainly our CEMC reached out to the, Provincial Emergency Operations Center in conjunction with our Regional Emergency Management Advisor to evaluate the risk, the thresholds, and available provincial supports. With regards to interagency coordination, staff were in contact with the County of Frontenac to discuss the emergency medical response capacity, including any kind of availability of paramedics or ambulance services to be located on the island, any access to emergency equipment, whether it be stretchers or a stair chair, and any additional support that could be mobilized in the event of a medical emergency. With regards to Ministry of Transportation, staff met with the Director of MTO East Operations and the Manager of Regional Services, both who joined the meeting despite being on holidays on December the 24th. Provided MTO with detailed feedback on community impacts and public safety concerns arising from the service disruption. Staff presented several suggestions and operational recommendations to MTO with regards to deployment of replacement or backup ferry, interim service options to restore connectivity as quickly as possible, and improved contingency planning and communication protocols for future service disruptions or interruptions. Sorry. Ferry outage highlighted the critical reliance of Wolf Island residents on ferry services for emergency response, medical access, and daily necessities. While the township does not operate the ferry service, staff acted promptly and appropriately within their authority to coordinate emergency planning, engage senior government partners, and advocate for immediate mitigation measures. The decision not to declare a state of emergency was informed by consultation with the PEOC and regional advisors and based on available supports and evolving operational information provided by MTO. Township staff responded diligently and proactively to the Wolf Island ferry service interruption by engaging emergency management authorities, coordinating with regional partners, and advocating directly with senior MTO operations staff for interim solutions. Administration will continue to work with MTO and partner agencies to improve contingency planning and communication for future service disruptions.
Any questions, Councillor Holton?
No, I have no questions. I forwarded, I listed a lot of people. Of course, we got a lot of phone calls. I tried to forward everything to Vanessa. So that she'd be well informed when she was talking to the MTO. I have quite a few ideas that I will forward to her, and hopefully she can share what we can do moving forward. Thank you.
Councillor Jablonski?
Mayor, no, you hit my head. We have no control over the MTO. The thing that we have control of the MTO for this little township ours is deceiving it at the best. I want to thank you for being the voice and it's back and forth. This is good. There's nothing else you could have done. We're stuck at the mercy of the MTO, unfortunately. No matter what people may think, we're stuck with this. And I think great job by staff in getting us through it. Thank you.
Councillor Saunders?
Thank you, Mayor. I want to add to the report. I was contacted by staff regarding as the warden of the county, which I'm hoping we can give it more leverage for us, is there a possibility of getting a spare ambulance on the island? Is there a possibility of getting some additional equipment to help transport people? I have to tell you, it's a very frustrating discussion because we keep running into barriers. There's union implications, there's legislative implications, there's concerns, well, if we do this, it might lead to that. And at least 2 or 3 conversations with the CEO and the paramedic chief about get us an ambulance over here, it's a spare. If nothing else, it'll make us feel better. I know that's a stupid way to think of it, but if there's a need for specific equipment on that ambulance is available to us, I still believe that with all the training that our volunteer firefighters have and emergency response folks have, they can provide some immediate remedial steps and actions. And I think that's just, it's so frustrating to me that we can't get through all these barriers. And I want to make one other observation, having spent several hours on this over the weekend or over Christmas. I think we have to stop thinking it as a ferry. It's a road. It's a highway. I had a conversation with Councillor Halton. If this happened on the 401, if we shut down on the 401, there are EDRs all over the place. OPP are meeting and put in place to redirect traffic and get around that blockage. We don't have in place a push button solution to when that ferry goes down. And I think that's really what's required. And thanks, Steph, for all the excellent work they did, but it's like just beating your head against a brick wall, trying to get some of these solutions in place. And I will add to that, since I'm so frustrated by it, and I believe I can speak for Councillor Ackley on this, although we both live on Howe Island, we both share the same concerns about access to medical emergencies and stuff on this island. The other is, the other barrier in all this, when I talk about barriers, is Transport Canada and licensing. And every time we suggest something, wow, this person can't do that, or that this person can't do that because they're not licensed. Well, get them licensed, like move. We can't have the situation again. So there's my rant. I feel better.
Correctly?
Well, right off, I'd like to just say thanks to all the Amherst Island people that stepped up, threw their holidays in the garbage and got on the boat and helped Wolf Islanders get back and forth. You know, whether it was in a McCoy's bus on a little boat or it was in the big boat, and they finally got their vehicles and food and propane, all that great stuff. Do I believe it starts from the top? I think the MTO guy should be fired. Obviously their plan's not working. Nobody is stepping up and saying, I want to fix this problem for Wolf Islanders or Howe Island. We're in this same boat with boats. You're dealt some cards, you got a boat, it's electric, it's failed so far. It hasn't run a real, 30-day course in the winter yet. Is it ever gonna run a 30-day course in the winter? I highly doubt it. I'm a mechanic for a long time, not an electric guy, but a diesel mechanic, and diesel's the way to go. Costs 200 grand a month to run that boat just on the diesel side of it. I don't even know what the electric bill will be. As it is, we do need a better plan. Wolf Islanders need a backup, whether they got an airboat to transport somebody across in it that holds 6 passengers, whether we need a 10-person hovercraft or something. There needs to be a safety plan, and it starts with fire end of it, an ambulance to get somebody across. Cause if that helicopter ain't landing, something has to go across. We're not minus 40s and 30s where we used to truck across the ice. And I'm sure many of them drove across the ice road. I know my dad did many a times. I just believe we need a plan like everybody's talking about. And we need training. We need these young people trained to drive these boats. I'm so glad the Wolf Islanders Reese back. She's just a big beast. We asked for a bigger boat, but we didn't get a better boat. We still have the old boat here, and she's still the best thing. It's like Howe Island. Ours is down to 10 cars, not 15. We asked for something, they gave us something lesser. And that's what happened. You got dealt a bad hand, and somebody messed up, needs to be fired. I'm sorry.
On that note,
On that note.
as I've always said, everybody has a boss.
Yep.
Maybe the council, the boss is actually the community.
Mhm.
In the case of government, the boss is the boss, and that is the premier. And then it goes down the chain from there. I'd like to make the point that during the quote assessment and consultation regarding PEOC, which is the Provincial Emergency Operations Center, and the lack of declaration of any emergency. At no point was I contacted by our administration or any of the chiefs being consult. But when I was at AMO last fall, I spoke with Joe Dunlop, who is the new minister of the new Ministry of Provincial Emergency Operations Center, and I asked specifically, what can you do for my island when I have 15 people stranded one way or the other? And she wanted to work with us. We did not have to declare an official emergency to have support from that department. So when I go to Roma, I'll probably run into Joe Dunlop. I'm gonna have a conversation in game. Because one of the things that might have been able to come forward is at least get us the government rate or even pay for the rate of the hotels for the people that were stranded. A standing contract with private helicopters for those that have medical appointments, not necessarily the ones that are dealing with the 911, but those that were missing the radiation treatments and pre-ops, et cetera, and that. In the past, we had standing contracts for tugs to be on call and then operational fees. That was paid for by the MTO. There wasn't a boat in the water for the Coast Guard. There wasn't an airplane able to fly, even a private helicopter on the day that we had the emergency calls on the 23rd. The ceiling was too low even for the private helicopter, who said, we could have done something yesterday. Now that would have been helpful because we had people missing appointments yesterday. That's not the holiday shoppers I was worried about. I was worried about people that needed essential travel. That's something MTO can do. So as I watched our valiant group of volunteers desperately trying to get arrangements made, and I understand 56 phone calls were made for the transport of one of the patients.
To remember, by the time I got done, it was 50+ calls.
50+ calls.
Just different people phoning me phoning different people. Like I was in contact with, Seth Frontenac for a boat. I was in contact with Kingston Fire for a boat. I contacted Chief Quinn for a boat. Chief Quinn come back and said, I don't think we can get our boat in the water, but if he would like, I can get a hold of Leeds in Thousand Islands, because he knew I was busy enough with everything else. I said, well, that would really be appreciated. So he did get a hold of Leeds, got back a hold of me and said, yes, they're willing to come. So the way that works, I have to radio control and tell them, we want to use Leeds, Thousand Islands boat. Well, that has to go out as a mutual aid call. And that's the only way that call can do it, is a mutual aid call. And I'm a little disturbed about this here where you, Madam Mayor, that you phoned Doug Ford, his private number, and got immediate action. Now, that looks like it was Doug Ford that got us the boat for Leeds. If it was, this is not Doug Ford.
I know. I didn't write the article. She
Well,
got that.
if that's what it says.
Yeah,
So,
I'm happy to.
I mean, there is nobody who loses any more sleep. I think I probably averaged maybe 3 hours. Ended up sick over Christmas. I know a lot of other people were sick too.
Yeah.
But that call there, we busted our butt.
I know we did. And
We've had 6 calls like that since the boat's been out and everything's went good. And I mean, you come up to the call and you ask, did you do this? Did you do that? Do you not think I'm confident enough to do my job that you feel that you have to phone people and stuff for me?
no, not at all. As a matter of fact, I tried not to interfere in any way, shape, or form. What I did do was recognize that the people were isolated, and this was a desperate type of scenario when we have no ability to transport a patient that's a paramedic case
So
of
who are
patient.
you gonna contact? to get that done.
This requires everybody has a boss. And so as I waited and watched and hoped that the boat would come over and be able to get through the ice at the marina, I had the private number for Premier Ford because he gave it to me
Well, every
before.
mayor in Ontario.
And that's, pardon me, let me finish. So as I sat there and watched, I
Are
did
you
the
mad
call.
because I'm
No,
challenged?
I'm talking right now. Because that is a misquote in an article that was not written by me. But I'm
It says
more
that,
than,
send it to your words.
that's true. I did not write the article. I did phone the premier's number and the answering message was to text. I texted. And I said, we're isolated on Wolf Island and it's been going on for yesterday and now into today. And now we have the 911 call and there's no boat in the water. And I outlined a few other pieces along that line in that my volunteer fire department has been working since 5:39, trying to get this patient moved, do something. And with that, shortly thereafter, the premier called me and says, this is Premier Doug Ford. What can I do?
And what did he do?
He listened to me. And one of the things I pointed out was there was no ability for orange air. We need to know that because of the icing. There
It was a
wasn't.
perfect storm. It was a
It
perfect storm.
was, it was,
There was freezing rain at one end of the
absolutely,
map, there was snow at the other end of the map.
absolutely.
There was no boats around.
Absolutely, and you had done heroic effort in trying to get that patient moved. So I suggested to him that Salvage Monarch is a tug that has been kept in the area before by MTO. That would have been a boat that at any point would be able to come over and help to transport a patient. And the day before, when we had people missing medical appointments, if there had been an established contract with one of the private helicopters, when I was young, they had it with a private airplane that would land when we had no safe transit, but had the helicopter available for somebody that needed to have their radiation or a medical appointment, et cetera. The fact that our paramedic station is not staffed, he's aware of that now too. I made the point in court that I had to break the law, the communication bylaw, to contact a politician without going through council or CAO. And the judge understood, and he will be coming back with the rendering of his decision. There's things that need to happen to ensure that we have access, and especially during the winter months, when there are no other boats in the water. I checked with, and that, you'd already checked everybody around Coast Guard and things of that nature, but when we had Coast Guard support, I had the number for down in Montreal. And I phoned down there and they said, it's true, we have no boats anywhere in the area. I said, that's fine. Do you have the number for the American Coast Guard and that? So I gave a call, gave that number later to you, so now it's in your phone. It's not that I was trying to usurp your efforts, I was trying to see what we did have available. Because at that point in time, if the ice had been any thicker coming into that marina, I don't know what it would have worked, what the answer was going to be.
What about your Greenwood stuff? We use
There
the
we
private
go.
now.
There we go.
I just want to say that we have stuff in place,
Yes,
all that we can do.
and it shouldn't take 2.5 hours to get somebody off
Exactly.
the island. And so that requires somebody from the top. And I'll tell you, when I was talking with Premier Ford, he mentioned another PP. I said, no, I'm putting this on your desk because Premier Ford and I have talked repeatedly at these conferences. And last time he said, haven't we got that sorted out for you yet? And I said, no, we haven't. And this was a classic example of how it hasn't been sorted out. So from my perspective, it needs a political persuasion to ensure that things happen. And it's not any slight, but I don't think it was an unusual coincidence that like 6.5 hours later, we had the most unusual scenario. I never dreamt of the loyalists coming down with a bus on it. But I did mention the backup plan was supposed to be that the loyalists would replace the Amherst Islander and the Amherst Islander would come down to us. Suddenly this one, I guess they could staff it the quickest, but we had results. I do believe that had some impact from the premier because somebody had a fire lit under them. But that is a political aspect. Just a second, Councillor Holton and then Councillor Chabon.
Just my observation, looks like maybe a good spot for communication policy. Maybe if you had somebody help you out when you're doing an interview, you'd avoid these misunderstandings. And,
Didn't do it.
this would be a reason for communication policy. Maybe it's a pretty good example of it where it's rarely misinterpreted.
Councillor
To
Holton,
get any help you could, seems like a good idea.
Councillor
Thank
Holton,
you.
I did not get interviewed for that. She sat through the court case and she took her quotes from there. Councillor DeBlanc. Councillor Ashton.
I think they tried their best. I was on
They did.
constant texting back and forth with Dan. I was even gonna launch my biggest pontoon boat I got to come and help, whatever, depending on the ice flow in the day. You know, put her in, take me 2 minutes to tear the shrink wrap off, put the battery on and go to help. I was more than willing to bang up my nice $100,000 pontoon to help this island. Secondly, I phoned my best buddy with his helicopter and he said, I cannot fly in this jet. You know, sort of.
I think that's probably the second phone call I got.
So I consider him one of the best pilots ever. He
Yeah.
lands on the dock every day of the week.
The ceiling was 600 feet. It was too low. They weren't allowed.
Madam Mayor, I want to qualify something for the public record. And I'm a bit bothered by your statements moments ago about, you were not contacted. And the Provincial Emergency Operations Center basically did nothing. That's just not accurate. The emergency plan, which you're a member of the control group, as is the deputy mayor, the fire chiefs and public works, we all are part of that plan. And anybody at any point in time can declare an emergency. We don't need to contact you, you don't need to contact us. But what the reality is, and I think we need to be fair to the public, is you can make the declaration and really at that point, that declaration is a piece of paper. What the people then need is action. And all of the action and all of the things that need to come into place are in place. However, Mother Nature threw a massive boomerang into the ability to fly due to freezing rain, availability of boats, not that they're not available, but to be able to actually launch at a boat ramp due to the ice conditions, et cetera, et cetera. So, I guess I'm bothered by the suggestion that nothing was happening. Lots was happening. I'm the CEMC, which I've been appointed by this council, and I was in contact with the Provincial Emergency Operations Center. They had eyes on Wolf Island, and they had eyes on Wolf Island through the 501 cameras that are out here on the ferry docks. The Ministry of the Solicitor General was in contact with the Ministry of Transportation. The Ministry of Transportation was the ultimate responsible party to make something occur. We scrambled as local services, utilizing the resources that are available to us, but the reality is Mother Nature really threw a boomerang into it. So I just think we need to be clear with the public, stop the finger pointing. I got a sense just from your opening statement that you're looking to place blame. And I'm going to tell you something, that doesn't fall at this level. This guy and I have over 75 years of emergency services experience between us. So I take exception to what I interpreted as being a finger pointing, blaming exercise.
Okay, let me be very clear. I believe it's in the first line of our emergency plan that in consultation with the mayor. And I was not consulted at any point in time about PIOT. As for declaration of emergency, I recognize it didn't qualify as declaration of emergency, same as when in 23, we had the ice that encapsulated our docks and stopped our ferries from running. And then I was in good consultation with Chief Hawkins and Darlene Plumley. This was December 22. And we had multiple phone calls back and forth, and we knew that we weren't able to declare an emergency, same as I knew we wouldn't be able to declare an emergency in this case. However, there are creative solutions that Jill Dunlop was very willing to consider, given the nature of our situation being on an island. We are unique in islands. So when I run into her in Roma, and that, if you have any valid suggestions that are short of what I've suggested, is arrange for hotel rooms for people. Seems very reasonable. If not free, then at least at the government rate. To have on standby a tug during these winter times, when after the Coast Guard has taken their boat out of the waters. Have on standby a contract for helicopters, so that if we had medical appointments, whether or not it can get to the level of being able to transport patients, apparently we could transport patients on a bus on a walk-on ferry, and that maybe we can get some dispensation. But we need to have a much better workable plan, and we can't trust NTO to be the ones to come up with it. So we need to make sure that we get the workable plan. And that is part of my role. So representing this community both locally and externally, provincially, federally, and internationally is part of the mayor's role, and there is no bylaw that can usurp that role, and we'll get that rule in one way or the other from the judge. But at this point in time, I put the needs of the residents ahead of any minor political decisions that don't want to make a decision. I'm open for suggestions, for improvements, and if I have to, I'll work with a community group rather than an ad hoc committee of this council that has no committees of this council. And it has not been to the good service of this community in my view. So I'm working and doing my job the best I can, and I won't be impeded, but I'd like to work with people that have good ideas. And I did not in any way, shape, or form mean or intend to slight the efforts of Chief Hawkins, who I thought, quite frankly, should get nominated for an award for being so good at your role. You have done an exceptional job with unholy obstacles thrown in front of you.
I don't need that. I don't want an award. I don't want credit for anything. I have a great bunch of people, and I just feel that we are qualified to do the job ourselves. I'm sorry that I get there. That's not what you said, then that's not what you said. That's just what was there. It just looked like it was Doug Ford that got the vote here. And like I said, unless this is Doug Ford sitting beside me, that's how we got the vote.
Madam Mayor, if we can put the motion on the floor, please.
No.
Oh, sorry.
Councilor Summers.
Thank you. I guess a question, first of all. Your intent is to go to Roma and find the minister and give that minister some suggestions or ideas. I think a better approach would be for us to sit down as a group or the appropriate people and say, what are all the possible solutions, and put that into a document and present a plan as opposed to all these different ideas. I think the risk of going and because you don't have a formal delegation, like it'll just be being a person in the hallway. So rather than an informal conversation in a hallway, I think putting all this information in a document and presenting it directly from you or as counsel or whatever would stand a better chance of having some actions. The risk in having just a call conversation, the minister might catch on one thing you've said and then run with that one, and that may not be the best overall solution. So again, I would recommend plan and put that plan forward rather than indiscriminate sort of suggestions being thrown forward. That's my juice.
That sounds wonderful. That unfortunately, when I asked for delegation status to that from this council for any of the issues, I was told quite clearly from council that they had no value. They saw no value in having delegation status at any of these conferences. To have only 15 minutes with the minister, it just didn't have value. So this is not to negate that there should be a much better plan that's concrete and well thought out of. But at the very least, if I can get the minister to consider getting free hotel rooms or the government rate, I think that'd be a step in the right direction. The rest of it is towards NTO. So I look forward to having ad hoc committee of this council that would include resident members, because we have a group of people that may have very good worthwhile suggestions. And I suggested we actually ask for a delegation at AMO, which will be the next major conference. At AMO, there's 444 municipalities. At Roma's 240. You had a better chance of getting a good attention at Roma. That being said, AMO is the next one that comes along. Councillor Ackley, you were the next one. that had-
I'm fine. I exhausted.
Okay.
So let me
Councillor
respond.
Thomas?
First of all, I question your interpretation of previous council decisions when we've talked about AMO. What we've always said was we should strategically decide which delegations you want to make and go in with a specific plan. At no point have we ever talked about a delegation addressing emergency preparedness. So I take some exception to this. You're kind of casting council as not supportive of going and making delegations. I think what we try to have is a conversation about what's the best use of those rather than just ad hoc meetings or whatever. I would also suggest that your comment was 15 minutes with the delegations isn't enough. Well, I suspect you'll have less than that when you're meeting a minister in the hallway. So 15 minutes planned with approach, everything else, be much more effective than a casual 3 or 4 minute conversation in the hallway. So that's my comment.
Council has about 4 months to get the best plan in place, and maybe we can ask and see if we can get a delegation at AMO.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Halton, seconded by Councillor Ackley, that council receive administration report number AD 004-26 regarding staff actions and coordination undertaken during the Wolf Island Ferry Service disruption.
Any further comment? All those in favor? Okay. No problem.
Thank you.
Action items required.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks, Keith.
Okay. And I'll hand this over now to Councillor Saunders, because this is my motion.
Okay. Thank you. Mayor Spears has a motion on the floor.
Second.
I need a seconder for that motion. Councillor Halton will second the motion. Jim, do you want to speak to your motion?
It's a motion regarding the support for the proposal for the new Kingston Health Sciences Center. And the proposal that there be a new regional hospital be built within the Kingston area. I can read the motion. It's rather long, but it's in keeping with other councils in the area and that would be looking for support of the hospital.
So, Mayor, I would waive reading of the motion unless there's a specific need by council to.
I'll read the very tail end piece. Therefore, be it resolved that the city of Kingston formally requests the support of neighboring and municipal and partner municipalities across southeastern Ontario is advocating for the province of Ontario for the prioritization and full funding of the Kingston Health Sciences Centre redevelopment project, and that supporting municipalities write a motion of support to be sent to the Premier of Ontario, Minister of Health, Deputy Minister of Health, Secretary of Cabinet, Ministry of Infrastructure, and local regional MPPs, urging immediate advancement of the Kingston Health Sciences rebuild in the provincial capital plan. So,
Comments on the motion? Councillor Halton,
No comments on this.
any other comments? All those in favor? Pass. Madam, I'll turn the chair back to you.
okay. Now we're at the Township of Smith Falls resolution urging the province to reinstate the eligibility of curbside blue box collection food banks.
Moved by Councillor Jablonski, seconded by Deputy Mayor Saunders, that the request received from the town of Smith Falls regarding the resolution support of province to reinstate the eligibility for curbside blue box collection be received and filed or endorsed.
Okay, any questions? All those endorse or file? Which one would you like? How many for endorsing?
I'd endorse.
Okay. Show of hands,
For endorsement.
carried is endorsed.
Should look after it.
Township of Smith Falls and Oxford County Resolutions Consolidation of Conservation Authority.
Moved by Counselor Ackley, second by Counselor Holt, and that the request received from the town of Smith Falls and the Oxford County regarding the resolution of support of consolidation of conservation authorities be received and filed or endorsed.
Okay. How many people would like to endorse this? Are you aware of what this is regarding, or would you like elaboration on?
I read.
Okay, so how many would like to file? Show of hands,
Five.
okay, carried for file. Township of Frontenac Island resolution regarding defend local autonomy.
Seth Frontenac, you mean?
Township of South Front.
Thank you. Moved by Councilor Jablonski, second by Councilor Ackley, that the request received from the Township of South Frontenac regarding the resolution to defend local autonomy be received and filed or endorsed.
Okay, how many would like to endorse this? Councilor Saunders.
Amanda, for some perspective, in my new role as warden, I was in 2 days of meetings with East Ontario Warden's Office. This specific issue came up and it was noted that Bill 68 has already been passed. So what the East Ontario Warden's Office is going to do is not try to overturn it, but they want to engage with the government to understand how it's actually going to be executed and what level of involvement will current local authorities have and the public have. So I think that's the position that the East Ontario Warden's Office is taking. So I guess we can endorse this as one, but I think, as they say, the horse is into the barn on this one.
Okay, so any other comments? How many people would like to
Like to what?
endorse?
Yeah, I'd endorse, yeah.
Okay, okay, and how many people would like to file? I thought you just said you want to endorse it before. Okay, it's filed.
Yeah, well, it's before. Oh.
Excuse me.
Now we're at question period. Well, that's any member of the public, whether online or in person, can question anything about what's been on this agenda. Step forward and give me your name, your address, and get to the ones that may be on Zoom after.
Okay, yeah, so it's Kimberly Thomas, assistant with Lionel Goldfarb. Am I being recorded?
Yes, you should be in the report.
And so the people on Zoom, are they gonna be able to ask questions after this if
Yeah.
they want to?
Yep.
And they'll be recorded also or not? If they're on-
This meeting is, we record these meetings and they're usually posted by the Wednesday after our council meeting on Monday. So it's my anticipation that the meeting be recorded in full and posted.
Okay, thank you. And thanks for letting me speak. So this is a comment about our CAO talking to the Ministry of Transportation. Thank you very much. When I asked in an email of the CAO about some concerns that I had as an individual about the ferry service, I was told by the CAO, the township continues to communicate residents' concerns and requests to the ministry and will advocate for service arrangements that support the needs of the community. And I want to know what those needs that you guys are advocating for are. I appreciate the passionate discussion about our ferry service that's gone on many, many times at council meetings. And I agree, we need to have a committee of council and the community to come together and decide what the needs are that we're going to present to the ministry. But it seems to me that there was a study done by the ministry that said we needed 2 ferries. They decided at some point, from what I understand, to have 1 ferry, a bigger ferry, that's great, but it doesn't run at the busy times. It doesn't help us in the morning and at night when we're trying to get to and from work. There was a discussion at council, I believe, because the ambulance service was taken off Wolf Island because we were going to get 2 ferries. We don't have 2 ferries and we don't have an ambulance. So I think the council needs to tell the powers that be, that we need to get an ambulance back, not just an ambulance, but with paramedics back on the island. I mean, our fire department is amazing and they've saved many lives and unfortunately my husband's might be one of them. And so I'm pretty passionate about this ambulance stuff and this berry stuff because he was one of those people that had to cancel a cancer treatment because there was no vote. And it's a very aggressive cancer and I don't want him to die. And that's just an easy one. That's not the heart attack on the street. We need to act now as a council, as a community. And I don't care if we have to answer to Premier Doug Ford or the president of the, well, I do care about that, the Prime Minister of Canada or the Minister of Transportation. People in the community have been contacting the Minister of Transportation over and over again and the Premier over and over again. God bless them. And our CAO over and over again. I know we're all busy, but this is the most urgent issue this island has. And we don't have time to sit and argue about it anymore. It's a great idea to have a committee and to send our ideas together to conferences. But we need to do that now. What I didn't hear in the discussion today is when are we going to have a committee set up? I heard it was a good idea, but when are we going to do it, guys? Okay, so we can't talk about agendas and we don't need to argue about it. Everybody's suggesting the fire departments, the staff, the ferry staff, and the Minister of Transportation. It isn't that we're against each other. We got to come together. We need 2 ferries that are the same as the Wolf Islander 3. We need an ambulance and paramedic service here until we get the 2 ferries. We need that. We need to have handicap parking down on the dock so that people that are disabled can actually get on and off the boat, not have to walk.
Okay, that's not on the agenda right now. Okay,
You saw that before now?
we'll go Councillor Holton first.
What's the question, Sue? I don't mean that, but I mean, can I
Okay,
get?
when are we gonna have the next meeting of this committee that we're talking about?
We don't have a committee.
Okay.
We haven't discussed it yet as a council. I mean, that was a
So,
suggestion
do we need
today.
another month?
And, do you have a committee that, like, is there a committee already formed in the community that,
I can.
we don't
make
know
that if
about.
you want.
I think we need to have a discussion as council. I think we need to get, I have pages of what I heard back from the community, I have pages of ideas of what I think. A lot of your ideas today are great ideas. Maybe in talking to Doug Ford, our mayor can get that done. We haven't had any luck. I don't know. One thing I did get feedback, emails and calls to MTO and the politicians are the greatest tool we have, from the community. They really took notice of those, so,
And we're doing,
okay?
and we, in the community, we're doing them.
Yes, and that's what I said. So hopefully we
And
continue,
that's it.
we can continue. No, we're advocating. I think everybody here will tell you the same thing. We've advocated for those changes. Obviously, dual ferry system, regional ferry system, a tugboat for EMS. We went through all this. I don't know how to make them do it. So,
But you guys have like.
But I mean, the mayor has a direct line to Doug Ford. He's the highest guy in the province. If anybody can make it happen, I think that's what can happen.
That her communicate to them for it?
Pardon me?
You're giving permission for the mayor to.
But she already is, so, I guess she didn't need permission.
So can she carry on talking to him now?
Sure, if that's gonna help.
Okay. So
What can I do? She already did it.
So she can carry.
I can't control.
Okay, good.
I
That's
don't
fine.
have any control.
Excellent, because I think that as good a job as our CAO might be doing, it's different than when the mayor calls, so that's great. I think.
Hey, Councillor Jablonski.
Yeah, I thank you, Madam Mayor. To think we have been trying to get EMS in this, or think we have a different way of getting it done, is really, you should look a little closer to the actual meetings. We've been trying to get EMS here for 4 years. We've gone through every exhaustive possibility to bring them here. To think we have not been trying to accuse that is rather insulting. We have been doing it. We know the cause, we know the biggest thing is now, we have no good transportation we should have. We have no EMS. We lost our jobs too. There seem to be people to forget about that as well. We've been trying to get these people back. It's just falling on deaf ears. So, and we are trying to think they're not, again, it's insulting. We are trying.
And so, you know, this.
Well, we are trying to move.
What are we gonna do this month to get the ambulance back there? What are we gonna do this month to get?
We're trying every day.
The city,
It can't just happen. It doesn't just happen.
Okay.
Is the problem. You have no idea who I know and who I chat with on a regular basis every day. We're talking billionaires and multimillionaires and $100 million people. They're my best buddies. They're best buddies with Ford and the rest of them. They are chatting with them. They are doing stuff. They live on the islands. They are trying. Not just us are trying. Vanessa's, our CAO is doing a great job and the staff's doing a great job. We can only write so many letters and ask so many things. And coming from a guy that has best buddies that are best buddies with the big people, it's still not that easy. But we're pushing the envelope. We are pushing the envelope. What can I say that we should be doing? I think you should all go and picket MTO's office on County Street. I believe you should be there with your signs. Say, I think you need to go. You need to say, I'm sorry. You need to say, it can't be just us. We are doing our job. People need to step up. They need to hold a sign in front of the building. We need better service, or at least tell us what service we're getting. That's the kind of stuff I think is gonna move things forward for the islands. Like, we are doing our best.
Can we give a permission to our mayor?
I'm not saying she's gonna do any better. She's already talking to people behind the scenes and doing whatever. And she,
CC comes up and says to the mayor, can we get your comment? Can we have permission for her to comment on this?
I don't know, you think that's better?
do you think that's better?
No.
Our witness today here?
Yeah.
It helps to have a second set of eyes. Use what help you have. Have everybody involved. Try and get it right. Try and do as good a job as we can. You know, that's a tag. Kim, we know that's a tag, a canned answer. You know, it's a canned question. Okay, yeah.
No, I don't.
Yeah.
No, I don't. What day?
It's 10 after 1.
Okay,
Yeah.
we're getting
Yeah.
along on the time, so I'm gonna go to the last counselor here, Counselor Saunders.
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, I understand your passion. I think you saw that amongst the whole group. I'm very sorry for your picture husband. That's a terrible situation to be through, and it just aggravates, I'm sure, your situation. I don't know everything that's going on, but I'll tell you what I do know. I've given notice of motion, at county council, which I hope will be, I know it will be seconded by the mayor, asking for additional funding from the county, towards this pilot project for a nurse practitioner. Is that unanimous? No, but it's additional
Yeah.
medical support on the island. So there's something going through. I know that one of the issues that we're working on, I believe the CEO is making an issue on this one, is this, ISO, what is, RIO,
RIO.
all right, Rural Index of Ontario, where if we can get that redone and our number is higher, over 40 versus the 33, that will enable us to get additional funding for nurse practitioners. Okay, I know that there's activity going on, discussion regarding how can we get a spare ambulance? Yeah, the county has 2 or 3. How can we get a spare ambulance on the island? So it's stationed here, and how can we upgrade, bend the rules, whatever you want to call it, take on some liability to how our very well-trained first responders provide some level of medical support on the island in emergency situations. So all these things are going on. My concern about getting permission, if that's the right term, to the mayor to call the premier. I think if I was the premier, I'd go, that's really bad. Now, what do you want me to do? What's the action? What are you looking for? So again, I'm strongly suggesting before we take all of our passions off in all the different directions, throwing things around, we should have a consolidated list of, here is the plan, here's what we need to do.
I agree.
So,
I agree with you exactly.
so the response to your question in terms of, does the mayor have permission? The mayor doesn't need my permission. She's already decided that she doesn't need that. But what we should equip the mayor with, and anybody else who's speaking to the elected officials, is what's the plan?
And when do you think that'll happen, sir? When do you think you guys will get together to give that list to each other? When could you make that happen? How quickly?
Well, I can tell you one thing. We need to take some of the work off of CEO's plate.
Okay.
I'm quite concerned that we keep throwing stuff at the CEO and all distracts from trying to do this more important stuff. Right? So I don't have an answer for you. I suspect we'd have to come back to a notice of motion.
So that would be a month from now, right? A notice of motion is a month from now.
Well, you're asking me questions I can't. I'm suggesting that in order to get your thoughts put forward, this thing put, or it's like to be a notice of motion from council to direct staff to put the plan together. Whether that's the involvement of a community group, or it's the mayor, or Danny, or a pilot, a captain on the boat, I don't know. But I think that's what it's gonna take before we all go off in different directions.
How quickly do you think that could happen?
I would turn to the CEO. What's the pro?
Like, what's the process?
Through you, Madam Mayor, if council member provided a notice of motion today that they are going to be bringing forth a motion at the February, forgive me, if whatever the date is in February, then it would be after that. That being said, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Madam Mayor and Deputy Mayor, you are leaving this weekend to go to Roma, correct?
Correct.
So to have a plan in place for them to take for them this weekend, I highly doubt would be not feasible.
Okay, so, but that's fine. Okay, so then when would it be feasible that you guys would all have talking points that you agree on? That the community is aware of and that we all take out together, all of us. Like, not just.
I can't, through you, Madam Mayor, I can't speak to that. I can't provide a definite date, but if we're looking to take something to AMO, certainly AMO occurs in August. So that gives us a couple of months to be able to develop a good solid plan with community involvement for whomever, whichever council member is attending AMO.
And that's August of 2026.
Correct.
So is there anything we can do to impact this situation as a community and as a council people and as everything else, like the media? Is there anything we can do before August 2026 to help?
Nothing specifically to help prior to, because AMO is the next largest conference that is very politically driven. There are other conferences like Good Roads, but it's not, you don't have the ministers at Good Roads like what you would have at Roma or AMO type thing. So
does the council think it's any good to invite the Minister of Transportation to come here for a meeting before then?
We've tried that several times.
We have, they never came.
I would like Doug Ford, for a meeting. That would be wonderful. You don't get any higher than him. So if we could get him here, that would be wonderful.
And we've asked and been told no.
So
How do you respond? We have to keep it moving because it's quarter after.
I think we're right over here.
Okay.
Dead end after dead end after dead end. And it's extremely frustrating. So I think we've got to get as much passion, or as much emotion out of the way as we can and figure out what's the best thing to go forward. And that's, I can't say more.
Okay,
Sorry.
I'm gonna bring this to the close and that, but I have one question here for the clerk. And that, would a resolution of council be allowed at this point in time that we at least establish an ad hoc committee of the council regarding paramedic services, an ad hoc committee of council regarding ferry issues? Could that be done instead of the notice of motion?
Certainly, if you wanted to, Madam Mayor, you could give direction to staff, like certainly as long as the rest of council's on board with that. Provide direction to staff to
Post for membership of an ad hoc committee, one for ferry issues, one for paramedic issues. Because one may have a different take, they may have overlap, but then they have a different take as well.
May, but I certainly open to council's feedback, but I would think one ad hoc committee would do to kind of cover both.
The two different ministers in the end of it will be approaching. Yes. So I would protect you. And that, because it's different expertise, there's somebody very good at the transportation aspect and some will be very good at the healthcare aspect. And then where they overlap, then that could be real force. So I'm gonna look to see the will of council that we ask or direct our CAO clerk to post for public interest to form an ad hoc committee of Township of Frontenac Islands, one for ferry issues and one for paramedic issues. We'll open that to discussion then. Councillor Huffman.
I think, first of all, we're gonna have to, this takes a lot more planning than just throw a poster up. Are we looking for specific people on it? Do we have a specific number? How are we gonna choose between the applicants we get that go on it? When are we gonna meet? Are we gonna do it with a mix of council? And I mean, that's a larger discussion that, I mean, we're already over time and that reminds me we should be.
Because we started at 10 o'clock and we had a half hour.
Okay.
And that's lasted to 10:38.
Well, there's a huge discussion that you have to think about logistically and how we set this up. And then what is it gonna be? I don't see the need for two committees. It's a community input committee, so I think that, but those are things that we can't just say today that boom, we're gonna do it. We need to discuss on how and how the committee's gonna look, how people are gonna be picked, how it's gonna be formed.
Okay, Councillor DeBlanc.
I can go to the comments.
Okay, I was proposing that we give direction to staff to post for interest in an ad hoc committee, one for ferry issues and one for transportation issues.
Okay, no,
As a starting
if we
point.
go back to the original one, this is community input, it's not community representation, so we would need an input from a group of people to cover both subjects. I'd say one group to cover both. Because there won't be two different groups going to Rome, there'll be one selected person representing going to Rome. Present the information by the public. So I wouldn't say two groups, where one group would be enough, one group two, it's just input from the public.
Okay, just to clarify that, when you apply for delegation status at Roma, you pick your ministries that you asked for.
Yeah.
And one is covered off under Ministry of Health, emergency preparedness to be another aspect, and the other for
No,
emergency
no,
transportation.
I've been to Rome once, I've seen the effectiveness of it, I understand how it works.
Mm.
But I'm just saying, if we have one implementation, one person can do both, because you don't need a bunch of people crossing back and forth. Again, input from the public, have one or two people from council representing us, so they have all the information in hands they represent, not two different groups. When you have two different groups, jumping back and forth, what happens, you'll get one to get the other. Just one or two people can take care of that extra issue from the info we get from the public.
Just to be clear, groups do not present that aren't
You
elected
know, it's
officials. at
not
delegations.
semantics, it's just comments.
Okay. Okay, Councillor Saunders.
I would change that suggestion, or whatever it's called, to direct the CEO to come up with a criteria for a committee. Picking up on Councillor Halton's idea. You throw a poster out there, we're not ready for the responses, but that could be done, without speaking for the CEO, that could be done fairly quickly and probably processed through council through emails and stuff like that. So if we had a criteria, and then we decided we want to go from there. That'd be mine.
As well as terms of reference,
Yes.
I think that's what he's really talking about, in terms of reference.
Yeah.
The terms of reference should usually be developed in conjunction with the staff as well as council so that it's captured. And then approved and then posted, okay? Councillor Ackley, any comments?
It's getting hard to remember, it's getting confusing and
That's fine. That's fine. Okay, so there's no appetite at this point in time to provide for any immediate ad hoc, but there seems to be an appetite for, or at least a proposal for direction to the staff to develop or review the criteria for an ad hoc committee of council. In terms of reference, I do believe that it should be two separate ad hoc committees because they're two separate issues and two separate focuses. So the first thing I'd like to see is a polling of that. How many believe that it should be two separate committees? Show of hands. I mean, believe it should be one committee. Show of hands. One committee. Okay, so is that clear enough directions? Thank you very much. Now we get to the statement by members. Oh, wait a second, no, we still may have some public questions. You took so much time in that, I'm very sorry. Step forward and state your name.
Tony Tickenbach,
And that-
257 16th Line Road, problems not as serious as Kimberly. Communications. Disgusting from MTO, is there any way that you guys can organize one channel of communications? Everybody's trying to pull heads, teeth, trying to find out from every corner of the island, where's the ferry going, when is it going, is it going to the winter dock, the Marysville dock? Just disgusting. Is there maybe some proactive stuff we can do and get one channel of communication going? Can we, again, in advance, maybe block off parking at the slushy place in advance of, this happening again, more than likely? Again, a lot more proactive stuff happening, and the biggest frustration, other than not getting to work, losing days of work, is that the Wolf Island 4 schedule, the Wolf Island 3 schedule. Again, the frustration is just terrible, because that compounded by that lack of communication. Can we put somebody in charge that's going to be disseminating proper, complete information without everybody trying to dig every corner of fact or non-fact, trying to figure out what's going on? Thank you.
All right, was that directed to anybody in particular to answer?
Anybody and everybody.
Okay. I do appreciate that there seems to be multiple, can't control the forum and the various sites of social media. There is the 511 that if you register for email updates.
The emails were terrible. Okay,
Yeah.
There's a Frontenac coming, and where's it going? Is it going, everybody's lined up at one dock, half of them are lined up at the other dock. And then the Amherst Island is coming. Well, when is it coming? When is it running? Is it running to the winter dock? Is it running to the Marysville? Again, everything's top secret. People are digging for information, and there is no proper information. That 511 is useless. We need somebody to, whoever it has to be, get to the minister and put somebody in charge at MTO over here to give us proper information.
Yeah. Okay. Councilor Saunders.
I've had a little bit of interaction with some senior folks at NCO. They've been told, I told them, your communication sucks.
Big time.
And they said, yes, we agree. Our communication channel goes through the CEO. And anytime, I can't speak for Director Bacon, or others, everything they produce has to go through the comms department. Everything has to go through communications.
You know what, that might be a perfect research for some communication program at a university to find out how screwed up it is.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. The barrier is, you can't speak to an NPO person and have them publish something unless they go through their communications department, which, as you can probably appreciate, is another bureaucratic staff and people sitting around with worse than that. So it just adds to frustration. Get out of frustration.
Yeah.
All right.
Madam, sorry, Madam, I don't know if the CEO wants to comment on the communication thing or not.
No. Is that-
Read all I get that.
Okay. Anybody else in person? Anybody online with a hand up? I don't see anybody with a hand up. Am I missing?
Just give them a moment. Sometimes it's a delay.
That's a delay, so we'll make sure. Okay, I still don't see anybody with a hand up. Okay. All right, so the public question period closed, and we'll go to statement by members. Councillor Holton.
All right, I'm just gonna start with thank yous. That's pretty much what I am. Our staff, Vanessa, Tim, Mike, Mason, did a wonderful job. They worked really hard. I know I bugged them a lot. The other counselors were all great. Called, and I'm sure you got the calls from our Howe Island people, you know, asking if there's anything to do, what they can do. The ferry cruise, MPO loyalists, Amherst, those behind the scenes, there's quite a few behind the scenes that really push to get the three return to service as soon as possible. That was great. Loyalist Township for helping out with ferries, Lead Thousand Islands for the support of our fire department. Our businesses over here, we've seen them come together and get their food orders and, you know, get somebody in town to get them so they can keep it fed and maybe keep a drink for us. So that was great. The recreation group and their helpers, they organized gathering on dock and it lifted everybody's spirits. It was a wonderful thing, well needed. Thank everyone on the island that helped each other through this. It was great. Good sense of community. And I'd like to say thank you for your patience and understanding. But as I know all of this is bad, it is a polite way to end your message maybe, but it's been kind of overused. I think all of our patience is breaking and we're finding it to be really hard to understand how this is going on today. And finally, just a reminder, the emails and phone calls really make a difference. They said, we were politicians talking to politicians, but they said when the voters call and the voters send, that's where they really get. So I hope everybody will really keep the pressure up there too, as we will try and do it through political. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Jablonski.
Thanks, Mayor. We hard show the fall on that one.
Hey.
Yeah, I just want to say thanks. I guess this kudos to people who have found the diligence and putting up some of this stuff is still tenfold, 10 out of 10. I know it's frustrating. We're all frustrated, believe me. We are trying our best to get some answers, at least communication. And it's difficult, but this has people hang in there for reviews.
Councillor Saunders.
Hey, Mayor, I know we're running long, but I think there's a few things I need to say. First of all, in this new role as warden, I'm now a member of the Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus. We had 2 meetings last week, Thursday and Friday, and this is the kind of documentation is developed by the EOWC. There's clear priorities, there's Roman conference preparations, there's a lot of information. The big thing, I guess we went through on Friday was we had local politicians, local MPPs, come in. It was a meeting where you can shake hands. So I can tell you that the current chair of the EOWC, Gordon Bonnie Clark out of Peterborough. And interestingly enough, the new deputy chair is Nathan Cowan, who is the warden for the county of Lennox and Nathan. Nathan lives on Amherst Island. So a chance to share some concerns between fellow islanders. And he was quite interested in the plight that we have. The priorities for the EOWC going into the World Conference are, two of them are infrastructure and healthcare. What will happen is they will, EOWC will have delegations and the executive director and the chair will decide who's going to sit on what delegations. So I've asked to be part of healthcare and or transportation. Healthcare dealing with what we talked earlier, might be a chance again to get a better message across on what we're saying. And transportation, infrastructure includes transportation. So those meetings will be with ministers. I'm going to look for the opportunity to bring up our specific issues and get in front of them and see what we can do with it. So I'm very pleased. By the way, I have business cards. I'm very pleased to be part of this group, and I think we can leverage it to our advantage. I keep telling people we're 2 islands of several islands with a couple thousand people in the middle of St. Lawrence River. Our voice is almost non-existent when it comes to senior political leaders. This EOWC gives us and me in this role a chance to get our voice more widely heard. So I'm planning to do that as best I can. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Ackley.
So I'd just like to say that lately there's been a little 3G report going around the island. Hopefully everybody gets to look at it. It speaks about a new ferry possibly for Howe Island, whether it involves electric, hybrid, or diesel powered. My second little note is I'd like to just get maybe someone give me some clarification on we are getting some dock work done. Is the dock work for the existing ferry or is it for a future ferry? It doesn't say. Well, well, do we have the plans? Can we get the plans?
You're sitting beside the ward that operates the ferry.
Yeah, can we get the plans?
Sorry, that's actually, I was not so sufficient.
For the ferry headings, people are asking about the times and all that other stuff and because they're repairing the docks. Are the repairs for the existing ferry or the repairs for a later project like the new ferry's coming that the 3G report that's leaked it there now and most people have seen it, which is gonna go for a motion here.
So what I've been told informally is they're two separate projects, but I will see if I can get something more done.
Thank you. That's what the people are looking for.
Okay. So, I would be thanking Chief Hawkins and all of his crew that have worked exceptional solutions through this trying time, especially. Not that he doesn't have challenges at the best of times in the summertime, but the added wrinkles that the winter months presents is unfortunate. I do hope to be part of a debrief to that on what went through, and I understand there's a meeting tomorrow with the chiefs, and I'd be more than willing if I'd be invited to attend that, because I think it'd be helpful.
Madam Mayor, if I may just clarify, it's not a debrief tomorrow.
It's another meeting. Yeah. Could we add a debrief in?
I have other meetings afterwards, so I don't know. I'll leave it.
I'll leave it to you. If
Okay.
there can be a debrief, I have full availability on Wednesday if that's available. Because I would like to have the debrief and any suggestions and that before I go to Roma. As I've already indicated, at no point was I consulted and asked by anybody in administration that over the consultation regarding emergency services or emergency declarations. And then I was interviewed by CBC and they said, you must be in a lot of contact with NTO. I said, no, I haven't received a single phone call. And that was the truth. I've been accused of going rogue by some when I had taken action on behalf of the community. In court, I made my case that my roles and responsibilities have been impacted. We all await the court's decision on the case regarding the bylaw 036-2024. There have been far more issues in this community that we need to be aware of, including whether or not councillors even attend special meetings that I call. We need to know that when the integrity complaints are made, the integrity commissioner has payment for their services by the township, so they should never be frivolous. And they are always limited in scope. But my role and responsibilities can't be usurped by bylaws, and that according to the municipal act, and we'll get that ruled down by a judge. And I acted as my own lawyer for that in large part. I did have assistance just to make sure I hit the dates on time and get a little bit of advice. But I did the presentation of it. The judge will decide it, and that will be good. I'm sorry that it had to be brought to this level because the township will put up the costs for their side on the lawyers. That. I do look forward to.
It's still there. It's just the screen's having a little difficulty. It's connected. Cause I can see she's seen it. I think it's.
Okay.
Yeah.
I do hope that we end up with a good debrief and that for what transpired for the ferry service. It's been too frequent that we've had issues and challenges, and we should never have it to the point where it takes 2.5 hours to get somebody needing an ambulance off the island. There has to be better solutions, and it has to involve NTO, and it has to involve other resources, as it has in the past, and they've just gotten away from that. I don't know, but I did get an email, and I assume others did as well, just yesterday from a service called Global EMS. and I forwarded on that. And I don't know whether that's going to be part of any solution, but we need to get aggressive in finding this right solution. And the government, I firmly have always believed that people in government want to do the right thing. Never assume that they know what the right thing is, but I've often made a good case and got action. So this has gone on far too long. We should have had a committee of council for ferry issues and paramedic issues from the get-go. It was open and closed, the paramedic issue one, and it never got off the ground except in the community for the ferry issue. We need to get our ducks in a row, and we need to do it collectively as a council. And I really hope that we do. We shouldn't go through this again. But in reality, when it comes to a political decision, it's going to have to come from the top. Because I've worked at it from the middle, the CAO's been working at it from the lower middle. It's going to have to come from the top. And quite frankly, if I had been in Doug Ford's position when I gave that phone call to him, people beneath me would have known that it was their job on the line too, because this has been coming and coming and coming. And the last headline he wanted to have is that we had a dead Wolf Islander because there was no transportation off this island. And he understood that this was something that would not play out well, but more importantly, it would impact somebody and their family's lives forever. And it's unacceptable. And he understands the gravity of it. And when he tried to push it off his desk, I said, no, it's on yours. And he knows I will hold his feet to the fire on this.
Just have to do a motion to extend.
Okay. Motion to extend.
I need a mover and seconder to extend the council meeting.
I'll be back then.
Okay, second by Councillor Ackley, moved by Councillor Chapalicky, or the other way around. Okay, all those in favor to extend 30 minutes? Carried.
Thank you.
Now, we have notice of motions. Councillor Ackley, I understand you have a notice of motion for the Howe Island Ferry and the CGA report.
Yep. Yeah, Vanessa was gonna read it then.
So Councillor Ackley will be bringing forth a notice of motion at the February meeting with regards to the release of the 3GA report. It's been submitted out in the public. Just looking to get comment and update. And was there anything further, Councillor Ackley, that you wanted to out there? Sorry, let me just pull this up here.
Have we been served?
No. It's out in the public. I don't know how it's been released to the public.
Could you ask
Both
the
the,
MTO?
I have asked the MTO, they don't know, they were not aware that it had been out in the public. The county and the township have not received a copy of the 3GA report.
So no government to government release of this report.
No.
Councillor Saunders.
Thank you, and I'm also going to be giving notice of motion if we're still on that.
Okay. Is that all that you want to say? Anything you want to say, Councillor Ackley, on this?
I did say.
Yeah, I've just got it right here. So essentially, therefore be resolved that council directs staff to prepare a comprehensive summary of the 3GA marine report, including all viable service options identified, estimated capital and operating costs for each option, timelines, risks and service impacts, and implications for reliability, safety, and long-term sustainability. Staff include the summary, an assessment of funding and governance considerations, including potential provincial involvement where applicable.
Okay, now I have a question on this. Considering the county operates the ferry, does this put us in any direct conflict with the operations aspect of it?
So through you, Madam Mayor, if you can leave that one with me and I will reach out to the CAO for the county. My understanding, the way I read this is you're not looking for, you're just looking to be able to provide comment as to with
I want
regards
to
to.
provide the documents so people can read them, 73 pages.
So he's requesting a copy of the full 3GA report be sent.
I want the full report so everybody can read it.
So if the county hasn't received it and we haven't received it yet, does your question have to go to the NTO and say that it's already out in the community and we want to have it released to both the county as well as the township? Is that really the next step we should be taking? Because if not, it can maybe a pirated type of report.
It's not pirate.
That becomes a bit of a problem that compared to then being aware that it's already out in the community. So I'm asking from a legal perspective, do we need to actually ask the lawyer to make sure that we safe?
Through you, Madam Mayor, if council is okay with this, I will put that through our lawyer as well as work on the actual motion to be brought back at the February meeting with Councillor Act.
Yeah, I don't want to bring it, no. I would like to see it in February, not
No, that's right.
Yeah.
You're providing notice today for the February.
to
meeting.
bring it back for
Yeah.
them. Okay.
All right, so Councillor Saunders.
So then I had something jotted down here and I just lost it. Just give me a second. Basically, the notice of motion is going to be will come forward at the next meeting. And what I'm going to be asking for is council's full support in recognition and acknowledgement of the work that CEO Latimer has done along with their staff in 2025. And I say that based on the excellent budget results we've seen and several of the activity report that you presented. There's a whole lot of work that's been done. We're in a much better place, as Councillor Eckwood has said. And I want to see, I'm going to be asking council to formally acknowledge the great work she's done. Thank you.
Okay. Any other notice of motion? Seeing none, we're at announcements. Any announcements, Councillor Holton?
No, thank you.
Okay, Councillor Jablonski.
No, announcements. Thank you.
Councillor Saunders.
As I mentioned, I will be at Rome this coming weekend as a member of the EOWC, and I'll be looking for opportunities to sit in on specific delegations that pertain to issues that we're dealing with.
Okay, Councillor Ackley. First euchre of the winter starts tonight, 7 o'clock at St. Margaret's Hall on Wolf Island. Usually every Monday, so bring $5 usually we throw in and that when they do the pass the hat and there's lovely snacks there. And aside from that, I don't think there's any more announcements. I'm not sure if it's a monthly thing on Howe Island. For the youths over there.
They just had one last,
Yeah.
on the weekend. They had some attendance, but most the island sick.
I never saw a euchre where they ask you to ask, indicate you're going to show up ahead of time.
Yes.
We just sort out which table should go to once you get there. Anyways, okay, well now we're at bylaws. We have bylaw. Do you want to read them all? I think it's the one that has.
Yep.
What we need.
So 11.1 bylaw number 001-2026 is a development agreement bylaw. As a result of this is a condition of a consent application that was brought to council back in October of 25 for 925 North Shore Road. 11.2 is our annual temporary boring bylaw that is presented every year. The same with bylaw number 3 is our interim tax levy bylaw that allows us to send out our interim tax bills. We've stricken item bylaw number 004 off and deferred it to another meeting. Bylaw number 5, 2026 is the amendment to the fees and fares bylaw for the building permits, which also incorporated the septic fee permits and or septic permit fees, my apologies. And then bylaw number 6 is our regular confirmatory bylaw. So
is it first and second readings of these other bylaws?
no, I'm looking for all 3.
All 3.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Saunders, second by Councillor Jablonski, that 3 readings and final passage be granted to bylaws number 001, 002, 003, 005, and 006, 2026, being the bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council.
Any discussion? Councillor Holton?
No
Councillor Jablonski?
discussion.
Councillor Saunders? Councillor Ackley? All those in favor? Carry it. Now, motion,
Moved by Counselor Holton, second by Counselor Ackley, the regular meeting of council held January 12th, 2026 adjourns.
hey, any discussion? It adjourned. All those in favor? At 13:45.
That's what we're.
Oh, no.
Better.